Good afternoon, everybody, from Right Side Broadcasting Network. I'm Matthew Alvarez. Today, a big day along the southern border as President Trump will be, in his words, inspecting the southern border. That on Truth Social just earlier today. A lot to get to, of course. We have reaction from Carolyn Sunshine. She's the Deputy Director of Communications for the Trump campaign in regards to last night's DNC and also today's visit by President Trump along the southern border. Of course, President Trump going to Glendale tomorrow. So a lot going on with the campaign with stops, including to Las Vegas tomorrow before that Glendale rally where J.D. Vance and others will be there as well. So a lot of great speakers on hand in Glendale tomorrow. Meantime, you're taking a live look, I believe, right now of the border there. That's some of the border wall, it looks like. If we can pan our cameras, I'm not sure if our operator can hear that, but to the actual border there on the left of and right of that podium that you might see on your screen. But that is the southern border there where President Trump will be a little bit later today as we take that live look right now. Beautiful, beautiful day there. You see the blue skies and the mountainous region there along the southern border. A lot of press, of course, there as we await President Trump. We do know he will speak at 3 o'clock today. At 2:30, he will do a tour of the border and inspect it there with a number of law enforcement agencies and some county sheriff there as well. And then he will also meet with some of the families who have lost loved ones from the terrible open border that we have down there in Arizona. Before we throw it to our RSBN correspondent, Mike Fortin, who's holding down the fort, we will be speaking with him in a minute. But let's get to that Carolyn Sunshine interview, the Deputy Director of the Communications for the Trump campaign. Here's what she had to say about the DNC and also this border visit. And Caroline Sunshine joins us right now on Right Side. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Your thoughts about the DNC day 3 just last night?
Wow, they need a reality check. You know, last night alone, the words President Trump were used 87 times at the DNC. And how many times do you think the word inflation was used? Once. And this is all intentional. Their election strategy seems to be to gaslight the American people into not believing their lying eyes. The same strategy they tried to work for the last 4 years by telling the American people that Joe Biden was fine, sharp as a tack, doing cartwheels. They seem to be running the exact same playbook. I heard a great analogy the other day. It said this election is really between a Barbie and Oppenheimer. You know, you remember those two big blockbuster films that we had last summer. They said the Democrats are trying to sell Barbie, which is telling you everything's great. Kamala Harris is awesome. Gas is cheap. Life's never been better. The border's secure. The world's not on fire. What are you talking about? Everything's great. There's so much joy. And really more comparing what we're doing at the Trump campaign to living in reality, saying, no, the world is on fire. The border is more unsecure than it's ever been. People can't afford homes, let alone groceries and diapers. No, we need to fix things fast. And I thought that was such an eloquent way to really embody that contrast. I think if I had to boil it down, what the Democrats are trying to do is tell you that America is great. America's great. Things are going great. And what Donald Trump is doing is living in reality, saying, no, we have to make America great again. It was great once before when we had low inflation, low taxes, peace on the world stage, a secure border under President Trump. These people have taken a wrecking ball to it for the last 4 years. If Kamala Harris is allowed 4 more years, this country will be turned into California. We will have a sanctuary country. We can't have that. We have to make America great again by bringing back President Trump and his policies.
And I agree with you. And then also, I think that the leadership of the Democrat Party and the mainstream media must have taken a college course called Lying 101 back in the days.
Well, I think they're forever enrolled in it. I think that is their strategy, to lie to the American people. As I said, look at what they've done for the last 4 years. Look at what they did with Joe Biden. They all none of them should have jobs. Frankly, I mean, they are all in positions where they take either oaths of office or should take an oath to their profession if they're in journalism. And they lie. They lie. They absolutely are an embarrassment to their professions. But where I think it's going to backfire massively is that the reason they lie to the American people is because they don't think much of the American people. They don't think the American people are that smart. They don't think they're going to see through it. They think this will work. And I think what we have seen time and time again, because President Trump has so many lies said about him, that he stands and fights in fights for truth. But what we see is that when we're out in America, when we're outside of Chicago and New York City and San Francisco, like President Trump has been all week, he's in Arizona today, he was in Michigan and Pennsylvania and North Carolina already this week. When he's out there talking to the American people, he sees that they see through the lies. They see through the lies. They're living in reality every single day. And there's no amount of gaslighting from the DNC in Chicago that changes that.
And speaking of Arizona today, along the southern border, showing exactly what it's like down there, there have been more than, 10 million people that have crossed that southern border illegally.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And to be clear, that's where Kamala Harris should be today. Right? That's where she should be. She's vice president of the United States of America. She is the border czar who has never been to the border. She should be the one at the border today. If she wants to talk tough and propagate more of her lies, that she's tough on the border, she's been the border czar, she should be at the border, but she's not. Instead, once again, it's President Trump showing leadership, showing up like the leader that he is, to go bring light and awareness to the fact that, as you said, we've had upwards of 10 million illegal immigrants, 30 tons of fentanyl, 360 names off the terror watch list come across our southern border. Our women and children, just this past week alone, the stories I have seen multiple of rapes and murders of innocent women and children. We can't be a country that stands for this. That is just unacceptable. And if you don't have a border, you don't have a country. So once again, today alone, couldn't be a clearer contrast of leadership. You have the sitting vice president of the United States of America and borders czar Kamala Harris, who's going to be in Chicago gaslighting the American people, telling you everything's great and fine. And you have President Donald J. Trump at the southern border, living in reality, leading the way for the American people.
And today's theme is making America secure again. And then tomorrow, make America great again. Two powerful themes, powerful statements. And you know what? They're very simple. It's called Make America Great Again. What's the harm in doing that?
Absolutely. Like I said, the Democrat Party will try to tell you America is great right now. It's not. In fact, it's never been worse for many Americans. You know, the inflation is up 20%. People are having a difficult time affording essentials like baby formula. They can't afford homes. The border is more, as I said, unsecure than it's ever been. The world is on fire and headed more towards World War III every single day. And it didn't all happen by accident. Kamala Harris and Joe Biden broke this country. They broke the economy. They broke the border. They broke our foreign policy. They're weak. They're failed. They're dangerously liberal. The people that broke it aren't going to fix it. And let's not forget, the Democrat Party is going to try to roll out Kamala Harris as this fresh face this week. Her day one was 3.5 years ago. So Make America Great Again has always been about restoring the values that this country holds dear: patriotism, pride in being American, but having a country that we can be proud of, having a country where life is affordable, safe, secure, strong, even helping people become wealthy once again. And that's possible through the policies of President Donald J. Trump. As I said, he did it once before. He's the only one who can do it again.
Exactly. It sounds like common sense right there. He is the common sense president, and we see that, the people's president. The Washington Examiner says that the Biden family and associates made $27 million from foreign business after boosts from Joe Biden. That's an impeachment report. I mean, these headlines that happen are over here, and the mainstream media obviously doesn't even touch it.
Nope, you can lie multiple ways, right? And one of the ways you can lie is by omission, lying by omission. They are intentionally not covering this like they intentionally covered up for his cognitive decline for the last 4 years. But, you know, it's Kamala Harris who should be asked about that. As you said, it's no surprise, no secret to the American people that the Biden crime family has been profiting off the backs of U.S. taxpayers for a long time. Nobody would have more knowledge of that than someone like Kamala Harris, who has stood up there and said, Joe Biden is great. She couldn't be more proud to serve with him. Really? She's proud to serve with a guy whose family made $27 million off the backs of U.S. taxpayers? She should have to confront that truth, be asked about it by the liberal mainstream media. But you know what? We have a liberal mainstream media in this country that won't ask for that either. They are all too happy to let her go without a press conference or a tough interview, because they know the same thing that you and I know, which is that when she has to be off the teleprompter, sit for a tough interview, sit for a press conference, those poll numbers are going to crater because she's inauthentic, she's fake, she can't hold her own, and she can't handle the tough questions. And it's a shame in this country that Donald J. Trump has to run against not only the Democrat Party, but also against the liberal mainstream media.
Exactly. And then on top of that, she doesn't want to probably reveal how far left her radical policies really are when it comes to the Marxist, communist, kind of socialist way. Do you agree?
Absolutely. Kamala Harris in so many ways reminds me of Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton, depending on which day, because I don't think Kamala Harris actually has a real identity. I think she's a shapeshifter. I think she tailors herself to whatever crowd she's in front of. She's a career politician, but also at her core, she is dangerously liberal. She has really dangerous beliefs. They're not fake. Those ones actually are real. She really does want to defund the police. She really does think that the border should be wide open and that we should decriminalize illegal border crossings. She really does think we should ban fracking. She really does believe in a globalist society where America is put last and everybody else is put first. She's been hardcore about those beliefs for a long time, and she works overtime to conceal that truth from the American people. And she has a liberal mainstream media that allows her to do it. But what we continue to see in the polls, and as President Trump continues to live in reality, as I said, go out and meet with the American people, be on the campaign trail, be in those battleground states, use alternative sources and media to get his message out. His TikTok stream, live stream for the first time ever last week had 10 million likes. What we find is that there's nothing like the truth. The truth is powerful. President Trump has always said the truth. And if you look at those polls as he's continuing to go up in all these battleground states, you look a little bit closer into those polls and the indexes when you get down to the issues that are most important to the American people, crime, inflation, immigration, the economy, on every single one of those issues, President Trump beats Kamala Harris, and it's not even close. And we know why.
Exactly. And then I saw on our network, actually RSBN, the Truth Social page, that the Trump campaign launches policy website for Harris after weeks of silence. So it looks like Kamala2024policies.com. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Kamala Harris doesn't want to tell the truth. The liberal mainstream media doesn't want to help her do that. So we'll go ahead and do both of their jobs for them. Kamala Harris is trying to hide, trying to shapeshift, and we would encourage everybody watching to visit that website. Learn the truth about who Kamala Harris is and just how dangerously liberal she is. Because I always say you can take the woman out of San Francisco, but you can't take San Francisco out of the woman. And the cold, hard truth is that Kamala Harris comes from the sanctuary state of California. And given the chance, she would turn this country into a sanctuary country. We can't have that. The truth is the best asset to this campaign. Nobody embodies it more than President Donald J. Trump. And I think that website is very informative, and I would encourage everybody to visit it and learn more.
Caroline, one more question for you. It just reveals where Kamala Harris is when she picks Tim Walz, an utter failure of a governor out of Minnesota. Is that right?
Absolutely. Look, I call him Tim A. Walz because he was derelict in his duty to serve this country when he was asked. When he was asked to deploy to the Middle East, Tim A. Walz chose to abandon his men, step down, and run for Congress. That means he chose to put himself first over his country. He's a career politician. He's never held a private sector job in his entire life. And not only that, he's as dangerously liberal as her. He thinks that men should compete in women's sports. He's happy to turn Minnesota into a sanctuary state, all for giving free flights, free housing, free resources to illegal immigrants. Bail helps, Kamala Harris bailed out the rioters that Tim Walz allowed to burn down Minneapolis, has no regard for law and order. And again, you watch the liberal mainstream media trying to pass him off as a moderate Midwestern dad when he is anything but. These people are fake career politicians. Both of them have never held a private sector job in their lives. And Tim A. Walz is, like I said, was derelict in his duty in his military service. He's dangerously liberal like her. And we plan on making sure that we prosecute that case and make that truth known to voters across this country every day between now and November 5th. Quite the fork in the road coming up this November. And of course, early voting starting soon. Carolyn Sunshine with the Trump campaign. Carolyn, thank you so much for joining us here at Right Side. Thank you so much for having me. All right, and joining us now live is our RSBN correspondent, Mike Fortin, who is holding down the fort there on the Arizona southern border. Mike, what is it like down there right now?
Hot. It's extremely hot. We're probably about 105 degrees right now. We are out here on the media riser awaiting the arrival of President Donald Trump, who will be arriving 12 p.m. local time, 3 p.m. Eastern time here. It's quite the sight. It's quite the sight to see. This is a portion of the border that Donald Trump was having built here in Cochise County, Arizona, where the border issues here are slightly different than what we've seen in other parts of the border. Here, the biggest issues they're having here is human trafficking and drug trafficking coming across. Not so much illegal immigrants crossing the border, but more of a drug and a human crisis here in Cochise. Exactly. And so today we know President Trump will be there around 3 o'clock Eastern. So that's 12 noon your time, I guess. So what kinds of things are you hearing that he might be talking about today? Obviously the border, but anything else? Obviously, the border is something that President Trump has been passionate about since day one when he first took office, and it's something that he's continued to repeat throughout his campaign. The border and border security and the safety and law and order in this country are paramount to President Trump, and we expect more to hear about that. We expect to hear more about President Trump's mass deportation efforts once he does take office in January. So right now, that's really the buzz. That's what we're expecting to hear today in Cochise.
Definitely, and that's part of that GOP platform where you see saying seal the border, and also a number of other things about the deportation operation. Can you believe it, Mike? I mean, there are more than 10 million illegal immigrants that have crossed our border under the Harris-Biden administration. Can you believe it?
Yeah, I mean, it's the numbers are staggering, and what's more important to that, and something that we here elaborate on quite a bit, is all of the people that are on the terror watch list. There's over 100 people that are known terrorists that have gone through the border. We have no idea how to track them. We don't know where they are. We don't know what their intentions are here in the United States. Obviously, if they're on the terror watch list, there's something that put them there in the first place. So it's a very scary thought for millions and millions of Americans here. Where these people might pop up and what they might do is on everyone's mind.
On top of that, yeah, so it's the crime that's in our country from people that are coming up through the border. And also, when it comes to the fentanyl, I heard a statistic that 200 people a day either are in touch with this fentanyl or OD or that kind of thing. Have you seen anybody down there talk about that kind of thing, fentanyl, the crime, and possible non-citizens voting in our elections, Mike?
Well, fentanyl is obviously one of the main things that is on people's minds. It's something that we hear about it daily. It's coming from California where I was, I can tell you, walking down the streets of Santa Monica, working in downtown LA, it's no joke when I tell you that there was bodies on the ground. There was actual bodies on the ground. Many of them had expired for some time. It's something, horrifying walking with your family in a place like Santa Monica that's, known for its beaches and beauty, to walk down the street and see, quite literally dead bodies on the street. And this is a direct result of the border crisis and fentanyl getting in. It's obviously something on everyone's mind. It's part of this, mass deportation effort that President Trump has been speaking about and getting those connections out of the country. People are, the drug crisis, obviously, as a father, like I've mentioned many times, and fentanyl being so accessible now to children and to really anyone who looks for it. It's a crisis, and it's something that, President Trump is expected to touch on today.
Exactly, and we'll be there live, of course, 3 o'clock on the East Coast. That would be 12 o'clock on the West Coast. Mike Fortin, thank you so much. We'll be going, obviously, back to you in just a few minutes.
Thanks, Matt.
All right, so one of our sponsors here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, of course, bringing you all of this live coverage. We've obviously have correspondents everywhere from Pennsylvania to Michigan to North Carolina this week, all the way there to Arizona, and then tomorrow in Glendale for a rally. On top of that, Las Vegas will be a stop as well for President Trump prior to that Glendale rally. So it's our sponsors that we want to thank, but also you, the viewer, as well. If you'd like to donate, you can by going to our website. We'll get some more information about that in a minute, but the Wellness Company is one of our great sponsors, of course. I've been showing you these contagion kits over the past few days. These are the kind of kits you'll get in the mail. This one here is a medical emergency kit. And then this one is the contagion emergency kit. So everything from ivermectin, Z-Pak, amoxicillin, all sorts of prescriptions that will help knock out any kind of virus and bacteria. You can use the information there that you see on your screen, makecaregreatagain.com, and use the promo code RSBN for more information, and also for a 15% off discount. So you fill out a medical form and get the proper medications sent to you. Again, these kits are right here. You can get them from the makecaregreatagain.com, the Wellness Company, and save 15% off with the RSBN promo code. So back here live in the studio, we'll be going back to our RSBN correspondent, Mike Fortin, in just a few seconds. But We do know that obviously President Trump on his way to Arizona today, and we know that tomorrow will be a huge rally, a number of great speakers tomorrow speaking truth. As you guys have known, or as you guys know, President Trump has been talked about a lot at the DNC, but none of the issues that we are facing in this country have been touched, really. I wonder why they don't like President Trump so much. I wonder if it's because he stands for truth and they stand for lies. That's the truth. All right, let's go back out to RSBN correspondent Mike Fortin right now in Arizona. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Matt, thanks again. You know, before we get started here in Cochise County, I want to tell you about our friends at Birch Gold. In these crazy times, there's peace of mind and security. Security for our country, security for our leaders, and security for our families. But think about this. If you have all your eggs in one basket, you are not financially secure. Gold and silver are an excellent way to diversify your savings. They're a hedge against inflation. And through my friends at Birch Gold Group, you can own physical gold and silver in tax-sheltered retirement account. This is one thing you can do today to secure your family's savings. Text Trump to 989898 and receive a free info kit on gold today. Plus, in August only, any purchase you make, Birch Gold is giving away free Trump silver coins. This brand new one-of-a-kind silver coin features Trump boldly raising his fist moments after the attempt on his life in Butler, Pennsylvania. You don't want to miss your chance to own this special piece of history, a celebration of a leader dedicated to our security, preserved in the security of a precious metal coin. So secure your savings today and get your free Trump silver coins. Text Trump to 989898 today. Again, that's Trump to 989898. Check out our friends at Birch Gold. And again, here in Cochise County, Arizona, at the southern border, you know, as I mentioned earlier, the main issue here is not so much the illegal immigrants crossing, but obviously the drug crisis, you know, people coming in, you know, just human trafficking. That seems to be the main talking points here in talking with some of the local law enforcement and the sheriff just earlier today. You know, that's something we've been hearing. And obviously, you know, with the DNC going on right now, it's rather interesting that border security, immigration is not something we've been hearing about all that much. However, what we have been hearing about at the DNC is none other than President Trump. They're mentioning his name upwards of 150 times per night, while border security, economy, immigration, law and order is low down on the list, mentioning, you know, safety and security of Americans maybe only 6 to 7 times per night. It just seems to be an all-out assault on President Trump for, you know, whether it's Barack Obama or Oprah, all these people that you're seeing, the only topic on their mind is President Trump. So obviously President Trump must be doing something right in this election. You know, talking to Americans, there's been some fantastic interviews with Theo Vaughn, you know, Aiden Ross, you know, a lot of younger Americans really coming out, and it's really interesting seeing on social media a lot of the interviews that are being done across the country with, more importantly, Black Americans who are really coming out in support of President Trump. We're seeing those numbers just really skyrocket. You're seeing, you know, former mainstream media journalists like Don Lemon, you know, going out and interviewing Americans all over the country as he drove to the DNC, and, you know, even him being extremely surprised at the answers that he's getting. President Trump really gaining ground with the younger crowd, really just, you know, overcoming the challenge of what has normally been historically Democratic voting with Black voters. And they're really coming out in droves for President Trump during this election, which is really fantastic to see. It's starting to see President Trump is really driving home his message, and people identify with President Trump as more of a common man. You know, what we're seeing from the DNC and the Democratic Party is you're seeing people that are out of touch with everyday Americans. You're seeing people that have very high net worth and are just talking about things that are important, not to American people, but just really important to them. And we're seeing just lax policies. We're not seeing any policies coming out of the Kamala Harris camp and Waltz camp right now. In fact, President Trump and his team have just launched a new website talking more about the policies that Kamala Harris has not been enforcing. Let me see if I can pull those up here for you momentarily. And it's rather interesting. I'll find them here in just a bit. But, you know, it's rather interesting to see what she hasn't touched on, what she hasn't been able to do. Because, you know, when you don't have a policy, we're a month into this, there's been little to no talk with mainstream media. And the one time that Kamala Harris did step in front of the cameras in mainstream media on her way to the DNC, it went exactly as you expect, off the rails. It just became, you know, our typical Kamala Harris word salad without a teleprompter in front of her, and she wasn't able to answer relatively softball questions from mainstream media as to what her policies, what she was hoping to put forth, which again, we just haven't seen. So I don't know how you can run as a presidential candidate, you know, for you know, obviously this short time, a very strange thing here that we're seeing in America for the first time, a coup on an American president, which is not being talked about by mainstream media in any way, shape, or form. We had an attempt on a former president's life, which has just been buried and been taken away and, you know, marginalized by mainstream media. It wasn't mentioned at all. I mean, obviously these are things that Americans are concerned with. I mean, there was an attempt on an American president's life. You know, this is not a third world country. However, Democrats would lead you to believe that everything is great here in America. And obviously we've seen over the past 4 years how President Biden and Kamala Harris have just driven this country into the ground, starting with illegal immigration, which is what President Trump is expected to talk about more today here in Cochise County, Arizona. And, you know, I can tell you, the media turnout today is unlike anything I've seen in my time following the rallies. There is 10 times the normal media here. We actually have a pretty large media riser, as I've talked about that before. And, you know, we are seeing so many people here out in droves just to hear media here, just to hear what President Trump has to say on the border policy. Obviously, it's something that he's very, very passionate about. We are expecting him at 12 p.m. Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern time. And what we also learned today that the Cochise County Sheriff has invited Kamala Harris and Tim Walz here to the border. As expected, they have not heard anything back from their camp. So it just goes to show you they're soft on immigration policies. You know, it's just going to be 4 more years of the same thing, you know, out of Kamala Harris. We know that they don't care about immigration. We know that they don't care about the safety of this country. We know that they don't care about our children based on what they're putting forth, and especially Tim Walz, what he's put forth, you know, in his own state. We've seen what a disaster that has been. And now what we're seeing is more and more law enforcement come out in support of President Trump, especially in his home state, because they just know that President Trump is the president of law and order. And more importantly, President Trump is the president of common sense. And I think we've really, as a country, we've lost that. The Democratic Party has lost the common sense. They went from being more, you know, center of the road type Democratic Party to now just far left. And the policies that we're seeing, you know, are just an abomination when it comes to parents and when it comes to what real Americans want. The policies are so out of touch. What I saw yesterday, I was watching a clip on a flight here to Arizona, and, you know, mainstream media talking about how they want to demasculinize, that the Republican Party should demasculinize their party, that Hulk Hogan ripping off his shirt was somehow too masculine, you know. And what this country needs is more men to be able to take responsibilities onto their shoulders. What we're seeing now is the Harris Walz wanting to just remove masculinity and really make it more about you know, what they're saying. They want a more equal equality, which you can't have equality and equal outcomes. Some people just simply work harder than others, and, you know, the ones that work hard aren't necessarily entitled to what others who have worked their whole life and put the time and effort into. It's, you know, as a father, as a husband, you know, as someone who's worked their entire life to get to where they are, you know, it's offensive to think that someone who is not willing to work as hard and put in the time that, you know, us Americans are, is really just a shame. I want to thank you guys again for joining us here on RSBN, your election headquarters for 2024. Excuse the slip up there. It's extremely hot out here. It's about 105 degrees. Dry mouth. It's everything you would imagine the Arizona desert to be today. And as we talk more about the DNC, what's really interesting is just how soft their policies are to allow illegal immigrants into the country. What I saw yesterday, again, on social media, it's really proving to be a great asset for the DNC, because you're getting to see just how ridiculous their policies are. There was an illegal immigrant who was trying to get in, a Venezuelan immigrant who, again, hardworking person, doing their best to survive here, wanted to get into the DNC. Wasn't able to get into the DNC because he didn't have an ID. However, obviously, as we know, the Democratic Party wants illegal immigrants to be able to vote. They don't want people to be able to show an ID, shouldn't have to show an ID, which, again, just not common sense. The things that we have to show IDs for, one of those things, at the very least, should be being able to vote as a citizen of the United States. So really just outlines how ridiculous some of these policies are, and the thought process of the Democratic Party, again, just attacking Donald Trump on his common sense, because they have nothing better to do, and they know that there's no other topics they can attack him on, because everything that Donald Trump has said he was going to do, he has done. During his presidency, we didn't worry about wars. We didn't worry about the economy. We didn't worry about gas prices. Things were good. I personally had more money in my pocket, and I'm sure you did too. So we're hoping, this November we get out and vote in droves. Bring people, check out Trump Force 47, get involved, protectthevote.com. Just get involved, get your family members involved. Over the last election, 20% of Republicans did not vote because they thought they had the election in the bag. So please get out and vote. If you're in a state where you can vote early, do that. Get your friends, get your family, bring people to the polls, have a party at your house where, everyone goes at one time. We see so many people at all these Trump rallies, and we really get the view of what Americans are thinking and feeling. It's important that you too get out and do your part. If you don't come to a Trump rally, you don't know what it's about, but it's love, it's unity, it's common sense. People just really worried about their families and getting back to a place where, they can afford groceries, they can afford gas, and they can take care of their family. We've seen that, obviously, as Kamala Harris, as we talk more about the border, since that's going to be the topic today that President Trump is set to tackle. We're going to really, I think, get an idea. This week, he's been touching on a different topic every day. Obviously, today, talking about the border here, as we see, the construction. We've seen miles and miles of this border wall just go on and on. One thing I did want to point out is earlier, standing in the shade trying to take cover wherever we could. What was very strange, and what law enforcement pointed out, was there was a roaming group of what we think was either federales or Mexican military just 30 feet on the other side of this fence. In the past 3.5 years, they said they have not seen a single person of law enforcement from Mexico on that side. These guys were carrying long guns. They were heavily armed, and one of the things that they were pointing out is in Mexico, the cartels will often dress as law enforcement. They will set up checkpoints. They will do whatever they can because obviously they're very ruthless. So they were very concerned. In some of our other shots, you may be able to see, different positions where law enforcement has taken up to be able to counter any threat that we have on that side. We don't want to necessarily give those away here, but just know that the law enforcement presence here from Secret Service and local authorities is massive, massive, more so than I think I've seen in some time. So odd things like that, this is one of the things that President Trump wants to combat. One interesting point is this country under President Biden and Kamala Harris has spent over $66 billion in housing illegal immigrants and giving them everything as they come across the border. Now we have California wanting to give illegal immigrants first-time, zero-down home buying options. This is, crazy. As someone, I don't own my own home. I can tell you that it's infuriating knowing that many of us work as hard as we do, and have been in this country, as born in this country, citizens of this country, and unfortunately have not yet been put in a position where we are able to afford a home, especially in a place like California where prices are just outrageous. So one of those big things that President Trump is set to talk about is definitely very interesting. So one thing I do, just back in the studio really quick, I do not have that. So if someone can send that to me, I will make sure I take care of that. One thing I want to do is open it up to you guys, the viewers, because obviously RSBN would not exist without you guys. We appreciate everything you guys can do. Go to rsbnetwork.com/donate. That helps us be able to attend all these events and get out here and suffer in this excruciating heat and bring you guys, President Trump like nobody else does, like nobody else can. We're dedicated to giving you guys the truth, showing you what's really going on, everything that the mainstream media is not showing. We want to make sure that we show you so you get a true feeling of what's going on here, at the President Trump rallies and remarks that he's giving all over the country. If you guys want to send that to me, I can get that done. One thing that I had taken note of, I was doing some reading, and Tim Walz's record, when you start looking at it, is really, really interesting. One thing we know, obviously, he abandoned his post as the National Guard, so he didn't have to go to war. Claims that he was, carrying weapons of war when, in fact, he was never in war himself. Give me 1 second here, guys. Again, on air, live, in the middle of the desert. Not everything is cooperating. Let's see. If you guys can approve that, that'd be great. But again, getting back to Tim Walz, he signed into a law that would, and this is shocking, especially as a parent. Tim Walz signed a law that lets Minnesota courts take children away from their parents for the sake of subjecting them to radical sex change surgeries. Imagine your child goes to school having a bad day, is thinking whatever they want to think, as young children are often do, and they tell someone at school. Next thing you know, they're whisked away. They don't come home on the bus. You're not able to pick them up, and that's it. And next thing you know, they're having gender reassignment surgery, and wards of the state. This is not acceptable. I don't care who you are, a parent. I don't care if you're red, blue, what side of the aisle you're on. You should not be okay with this. I think a lot of the things that are put forth, Democrats like to say, but when it actually comes down to what's best for them and their family, their views radically change, and very, very quickly. Excuse me 1 second. All right, what I would like to do is tell you guys about our friends at MyPillow. Again, very hard to read, a lot of sun here. Hey, is your son or daughter heading off to college this soon? You're in luck, because MyPillow is bringing back $25 extravaganza. Mike Lindell has dedicated his employees to be part of. His dedicated employees have been part of cancel culture, so they want to pass savings directly on to you. He knows all about it. Mike Lindell's been attacked a million times. We know that because of his views, because of his relationship and support with President Trump, and obviously his employees very loyal as well. A 2-pack multi-use MyPillow, just $25. MyPillow sandals, $25. Beach towels, $25. Their 6-pack towel sets, $25. Couch and recliner pillows, you guessed it, $25. Sheets, blankets starting at $25 as well. Another amazing offer is on the My Mattress Topper for the college dorm beds. You know those beds aren't comfortable. The Twin XL Topper fits most college dorm beds and will help you get your kid a great night's sleep. Obviously very important in college because, let's face it, there's a lot of partying that happens, and we want to make sure that they're rested up for when they go to class the next day. Wink, wink. The MyPillow Topper comes in every bed size. You can put it right over the current mattress. Believe me, you will feel the difference. It provides best support. For a limited time, you can get one for as low as $69.99. That's pretty good, Mike Lindell. These amazing offers won't last long, so order now. Just go to mypillow.com and use promo code. Don't have the promo code, but definitely check out mypillow.com. So definitely check them out. Again, a very hot day here in Cochise County, doing our best here. I'm going to grab a drink of water here because I don't want to pass out on camera. what I would love to do is open it up to you guys, the viewers, on YouTube. You guys watching us live, we want to hear from you. We want to answer your questions. We want to see what's on your mind. So if you're watching us on YouTube, in about 2 minutes or so, I'm going to open up YouTube. I'm going to start taking your questions, answer you guys, give you guys some shout outs. We appreciate the support. You know, nothing helps us more than you, the viewers. RSBN would not exist without you guys. So thank you so much for all that you do for us. Check out rsbnnetwork.com. And donate if you can. Every dollar, every penny helps us continue to do what we can. So go to YouTube. I'm logging in right now, and we will definitely get you guys here and answer some questions for you. I'm going to ditch the glasses because I can't see. And Will, can you do me a huge favor here, if you can? I apologize. I need to get onto YouTube there. And I can't see the phone. So again, live TV issues. Again, as we await President Trump to be speaking here at 12 local time, 3 p.m. Eastern time. All right, we got YouTube up and running. So if you guys have questions, again, sorry for the technical difficulty. We are live TV. It's not easy to stand out here in this heat, in this sun, with so much going on, and be able to interact with you guys and tell you guys what's going on. You guys know President Trump's agenda, and you know what he is. So while we do that, what we're going to do is I'm going to get your questions loaded up here. We're going to head back to our studio and Matthew Alvarez there, and we'll be back here in Cochise County while we await President Trump to speak at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you guys for joining us on another RSBN broadcast. We'll see you again soon.
Mike Fortin holding down the fort there in Arizona along the southern border. Of course, about 93 degrees and intense heat there, but also always good to see the chats, whether it's Rumble or YouTube. We love when you guys say a bunch of awesome things about the country, about Trump, about the network here. So we'll get to some of those questions and answers from anybody that would like to ask Mike some questions out there at the southern border. Obviously, if you saw his vantage point, actually, and if we can take another live look there at the border, the wall is literally right to his right. So we're aiming the opposite direction. So if they would pan a little bit, you could see the border of Mexico and the United States right there. Of course, President Trump will inspect the border today. We'll tour it. We'll talk to families there that have lost loved ones because of this open border. You're talking more than 10 million people. A quick shout out, though, to the camera ops that are out there as well, doing a great job there, traveling all the way to the southern border there in southern Arizona. We will get to possibly an interview with Abe Hamadeh from earlier this week. He obviously is a rock star there in Arizona, along with Andy Biggs, Eli Crane, Paul Gosar, Kerry Lake, and others. A lot of great patriots in that state. 6 electoral votes, if I'm not mistaken, are up for grabs in the Grand Canyon state, as all eyes are on that state right now because President Trump is on his way there. And of course, at 3 o'clock, you see there on East Coast time, President Trump will be taking to the podium and will share a number of remarks about the southern border. Of course, this is a border problem. So with a problem, you always have to have a solution. So some of the problems that we've seen, more than 10 million illegal immigrants have crossed over that southern border. From crime and drugs here to the United States, statistics reveal 200 people die a day from fentanyl across our country. There's also the possibility of non-citizens voting in our U.S. elections. So the commander-in-chief has power to shut down the border right now, but it's not being done. This can stop right this second, as President Trump said on a phone call this morning with Fox. He was mentioning that. Speaking of that phone call, he also said, all they do is lie about me. That's the truth, right? The DNC this week, they've brought up his name hundreds of times, 300, I have a statistic here somewhere, but it's more than 300, I think it's 314 times they've talked about President Trump, and they've talked about the issues at hand maybe once, twice, 6, 7 times. I wonder what it is about President Trump and the MAGA movement, the freedom movement, the We the People movement, which is the majority of this country. I wonder why they're so scared of that. Because at the end of the day, the first 4 years under President Trump, his first administration, were only great for the people. That's what we're looking for, more of the same and better under a second Trump administration. I was going to get into some information about exactly what a lie is. I know we all know what it is, but why don't we look at the definition of what they're doing to President Trump and we the people. The definition of a lie is a false statement made with deliberate intent to deceive, an intentional untruth, aka disinformation, aka propaganda. It's all they're doing this week, Monday through Thursday. Tonight, of course, Harris will be having her speech. And guess what? On Truth Social, President Trump says, well, I'm going to do a play-by-play. And he's going to have a lot of posts on Truth Social about her speech and anybody prior to that as well. He's saying that starts at 10 o'clock Eastern on Truth Social. So if you don't have Truth Social, please download that. Hear from President Trump, but also follow us on Truth at RSBN. Again, that's tonight at 10 o'clock. That an article I also saw from RSBnetwork.com with all of that information as well. So yeah, a lot going on today. Of course, the tour of the border there, where President Trump will inspect it with law enforcement there. And then on top of that, have a speech after he speaks to a number of American families that have lost loved ones to this extreme crisis, where people from all areas of the world, regardless of race, it doesn't matter. The point is, what matters is what the actions are. There are crimes being committed. There is fentanyl being taken from the south to the north through the drug cartel. So there's a lot going on, of course. And President Trump says, you know what, number one promise out of the 20 promises for the GOP is to secure the border. Actually, to quote the actual platform, it says to seal the border. That being number one from the Trump platform, the GOP platform. Number one is to seal the border and stop the migrant invasion. Number two is to carry out the largest deportation operation in American history. So a lot to get done. As we talked about earlier this week, the country is hemorrhaging in so many bad things going on, from inflation, the economy, gas prices, housing prices, rental prices, our freedoms at stake in the First and Second Amendment. We can't be fooled by the lies on the left. A lot of lies are happening from the Democrat leadership, from the DNC this week. So we're seeing that happen, a lot of indoctrination as well. And speaking of indoctrination, you can get a book that will actually reverse all of that. The freetrumpbook.com. Mike Huckabee and others wrote a number of great books there, freetrumpbook.com. I actually have a few of them right here that got mailed into us here at the studio. This is the Kid's Guide to Free Markets, the Kid's Guide to American Greatness, to President Trump and others, other topics. So you can get this book in your mailbox. All you got to do is go to freetrumpbook.com for more information there. There is a small shipping and handling fee, but you'll get a lot of this good information. I did look through some of it, and you know what? I think this should be for everybody, not just the youth of our country, because it's just a good reminder on what we're facing right now here in this country. As Elon Musk said the other day on X, he was talking about with President Trump that there is a fork in the road. That's what we're looking at this election. So are we going to choose truth and righteousness and faith? Or are we going to choose the Constitution? Are we going to choose all these good things? Or we choose the opposite of all of that? So that's exactly what's on the ballot, right? So again, all of the DNC this week, just, it's interesting. The mainstream media all year, they do the lies. They throw out the lies about MAGA or people that love freedom or people that are of faith or Donald Trump. They do that all year. They spread it out. But then the DNC 4 days is their heaven. That's their religion. They want to be able to say as many lies together, the media and the people on stage, and that's what I saw a little bit last night. It was pretty difficult to watch all of that, to be honest. I had to turn some of it off because it's just like, man, I mean, how much more can you literally lie to the American people? It is the Do Not Care convention. instead of the DNC, Democratic National Conventions, do not care because they don't care about the freedoms, the true freedoms of this country. So the Birch Gold Group, a great corporation organization there. You can get that free Fight Silver coin as you see there on your screen. All you got to do is get one of the products with them. So go to Trump to 989898. Just text Trump to 989898 for more information on gold, silver, and precious metals, 401ks, and also tax-sheltered IRAs. All good information as the U.S. dollar, fluctuates with the BRICS nations. It's always good to have that gold, silver, or precious metal. So all you got to do is text the fine folks there at Trump to 989898. So we talked about the border solution as well. We know the border problems as listed earlier. Under President Trump, again, number one and number two of the GOP platform is to seal the border and secure it, right, and stop the stop the immigration flow at the southern border, and also have a massive deportation operation. So that's how that will be done. Obviously, President Trump will be there, as you see, at 3 o'clock on the 3 o'clock Eastern time there in Cochise County. We know a lot of the fentanyl and the crime that has been happening in this country. We've been seeing stories about it. It's been coming from the southern border. Even the sector in Vermont in the northern border for the Customs and Border Protection. I know there are a few people on X that post about, in Vermont and other states in that region, that there's a problem in the northern border as well. So obviously the northern border, the southern border need to be sealed. We have to have a country that our people, we know who the citizens are in the nation. So we have none of the worst heading our way. So again, President Trump is all about legal immigration, people coming to our country legally. So it's pretty simple stuff. I mean, if you guys have flown on an airplane, right, internationally, you fill out the forms and you got to go through customs and a passport and all that. So that's kind of the situation that we're looking for, is to have all of the proper documents as American citizens here. So the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, if you caught this news story, recently revised its estimate of total employment in March of 2024 by more than 800,000 people. So a lot of mainstream media not talking about these kind of stories. We'll get back to some more of that in a second. Matthew Alvarez here in the studio, just riffing it here as we throw it back to our RSBN correspondent, Mike Fortin. Mike? Yep, I don't know if Mike can hear us right now.
Yeah. So we are back here in Arizona. And just, one of the things I wanted to mention, I love what Matthew said about the DNC, the Do Not Care Convention. That was a great line. I love that, and I'm certainly going to start borrowing that. During this DNC, it's become very clear that, some of the policies that she does not support, Kamala Harris, that is, Kamala Harris supports decriminalizing illegal border crossings. She has thought Barack Obama deported too many illegal immigrants. It's truly, as I read these, this is the first time reading these. This is the first time reading these things that she supports, and it's really shocking. Guys, can you turn off the monitor in my ear, please? Kamala Harris compared ICE officers to the KKK. Give me 1 second. Sorry, guys, that's my fault. All right, there we go. Apologies, guys. Again, there's issues. Kamala Harris compared ICE officers to the KKK and said we need to start from scratch. Getting rid of the Border Patrol during a border crisis, probably not the best policy in the world, and not something to certainly support. Kamala Harris supports giving taxpayer-funded health care coverage to illegal immigrants. Families out there right now can't afford health care, can barely afford their housing, can't afford gas, can't afford groceries, and now people that are coming into this country illegally are just being given homes and health care and food. I'm all for supporting immigration and doing it the right way. My wife was one of those people, members of her family who immigrated legally. All for support, but again, if people want to make the trek over, it's happy to give them what they need and send them right back on their way. We have a country that is just under attack from illegal immigration, and we have countries that are sending the worst of the worst on a daily basis, and we just can't continue to sustain the level of illegal immigrants that we're getting. More things that Kamala Harris supports. She wants to shut down immigration detention centers, and release thousands of criminals. You know, we're already seeing this. We already have the criminals coming in. Now the ones that we have and we were able to detain, she wants to now let them out. So again, really just leftist, crazy policies, you know, that aren't going to do anything but harm the American people. And as borders are, she's overseeing this border. She's put more holes in it and allowed more holes to be made, you know, on a weekly, monthly basis. And she still has yet, over 3.5 years, and as a presidential candidate, has yet to visit the border and really get boots on the ground. I have visited the border more times than Kamala Harris. This is my first time. I'm not running for president, and I'm here, and I see, and I want to see with my own eyes what's actually happening, and talking to law enforcement here on the ground. And they are getting zero support out of Washington. So obviously, we're waiting President Trump here today. He's going to talk more about this, his views, his mass deportation expectations once he does gain office once again in January. And, you know, again, we are really hoping to hear just some of his great policies, specifically on illegal immigration. Other big news, you may have seen Robert F. Kennedy is expected to drop out of the race tomorrow, right here in Phoenix. He's going to be doing a live press conference tomorrow. We don't know what time that's going to be, but there has been some talk. I've heard Donald Trump Jr. talking about it. There is a good chance that RFK could throw his support behind the Trump campaign, the Trump-Vance campaign, which would be monumental and historic. And it would be great to see someone who's a traditional Democrat work directly with President Trump. And maybe there's room there to be in the cabinet for an RFK, because I think, you know, based on what we've heard from President Trump and his respect for Robert F. Kennedy and mutual respect from Robert F. Kennedy for Donald Trump, this could be a really great thing. And obviously, RSBN is going to be covering Donald Trump's remarks and rally here tomorrow in Glendale, Arizona. We don't know. Maybe we see a special guest. Maybe RFK shows up. It's definitely something that there's been a little bit of buzz about here on the Media Riser. So who knows? Anything can happen with the Trump campaign. Donald Trump, full of surprises. Always a good time. One thing I remarked on earlier, I started talking a little bit about Tim Walz before we went into break, and we talked so much, and we know what a terrible Vice President Kamala Harris has been, and what a terrible thing it would be if she were to get back into office and continue her extreme leftist policies. Tim Walz is someone I don't think we're talking enough about, and just how radical Tim is, if not more so than Kamala herself. Tim Walz practiced race-based discrimination in rationing COVID treatments in 2021. White Americans, were given a lower priority for treatment purely based on skin color, according to Walz's policies. So, you know, again, bringing in racial discrimination, reverse discrimination, however you want to call it, everyone should be given, you know, equal rights, especially when it comes to, you know, getting vaccinations. Tim Walz gave free health care, free college tuition, and driver's license to illegal immigrants in his state. When the mayor of Minneapolis begged Tim Walz to call out the National Guard to contain the George Floyd riots, Walz refused to do anything for 20 hours. That delay allowed BLM radicals to burn down the 3rd Precinct Police Station. So assaulting police officers, being begged to bring out some protection to have the back of our law enforcement officers, and Tim Walz failed. Tim Walz literally doubled Minnesota's murder rate in just 3 years. Tim Walz presided over the single biggest fraud case of the COVID period, letting Somali immigrants plunder through more than $250 million through their Feeding Our Future scam. And we know that was a scam. These aren't things that we're just, you know, throwing out there. These are actual facts. Walz created a sweeping race-based quote system throughout the Minnesota State Health Department. And one thing that we mentioned on a prior broadcast was Tim Walz drove drunk. He blew a .128, pled guilty, then spent decades lying about it, saying he actually flunked the field sobriety test due to being deaf from an injury he sustained while at war. So, you know,
we can tell that Tim Walz's record isn't necessarily on the level, and his campaign and the Harris campaign are really doing everything they can to cover up for Tim Walz. Not only that, he signed a law into making abortion legal up to the moment of birth, but removing any requirement to care for infants born alive from botched abortions. In Minnesota, babies born alive after a botched abortion can be left to die or actively killed, and no law is broken. It's heartbreaking. Education Department is imposing new state social studies curriculum centered on critical race theory buzzwords like identity, resistance, and ways of knowing. So again, an assault on our children. And, what happened to math and social studies and science, ceramics class, home economics, things like that. Now the things that we're bringing into our schools and the left is bringing into our schools is shocking. He wanted to roll back the First Amendment in order to criminalize speech that he considered disinformation. So if you didn't agree with Tim Walz's policies or what you may be hearing out there, and he or his cronies decided that this was misinformation, this is something that you can be jailed for. And we're starting to see this in Great Britain, in London, where they're really having an attack on free speech, going so far as threatening Elon Musk for having Donald Trump on his podcast. And speaking of podcasts, I'm not sure if you guys saw it. I highly recommend it. Theo Von, well-known comedian, really funny guy. I've had the chance to meet him one time. He was really great. He just had Donald Trump on his podcast, and really just a good time. You get to see how down-to-earth a guy like Donald Trump is, and just a common guy. Some of the topics they talked about, absolutely hilarious. Highly recommended. So, you can definitely check out Theo Von interviewing President Trump. Definitely a good thing. As we know, the name has stuck. Tim Walz has put tampons into boys' bathrooms. You're talking about 9, 10-year-old boys going into bathrooms that have tampons in them. Very, very strange, to say the least. And really just, what we're seeing coming out of the DNC night after night, as I mentioned earlier, an all-out assault on President Trump. Unable to put forth any policies, unable to speak about what they want to do or how they plan on making America a better place. It's just what they can do to stop Donald Trump. I truly think they could have put a frog out there to run against Donald Trump, and people would vote, their side would vote for the frog, simply because they just don't want Donald Trump, and they're not willing to just vote for common sense and what we feel and what they know would be, something just good for the country. It's time that we get back to common sense. President Trump, the president of common sense here, really just wanting to bring back just a better America for people. I'm going to do my best here to get into our YouTube. As you guys are seeing Cochise County, Arizona, here at the border as we await President Trump's arrival, set to arrive in about 30 minutes or so, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 p.m. Pacific Time. Let's see what you guys are saying here in the chat. And let's see. I'm going to have to turn this down so I don't have feedback here. But wow, lots of people in the chat here. Frogs for Trump. I love that. Thank you, Scooter. And hey, I saw your comments earlier. Thank you guys for caring about us here on the ground. From myself and my camera operator, Will, we certainly appreciate all the thoughts. Will's doing a great job back here. He's getting burnt up in the sun. We had to take our tiny little umbrella down so the other cameras can see. Working on this meteorizer, it is extremely hot. It might even be hotter than the 104 because we are standing on a all black surface here, this meteorizer, metal black surface, and it is just absolutely scorching out here. So thank you guys for all of your concern. We certainly appreciate it. We're trying to stay hydrated, and thank you. Bruce, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Let's see. What else are you guys saying here? So we are live right now. We're looking in the chat. Drink plenty of water. We're certainly trying. Thank you guys so much. All Republicans, please vote for ticket. We need to own the Congress and Senate majority. Absolutely. Questioning is living. Thank you for that comment. Certainly agree. We want to make sure we can take back all that we can, and that Republicans can bring back common sense to this country, which we've seen just dissipate over the past 4 years. VH is excited about the RFK Trump announcement. We certainly are too. We don't know what's going to happen, but right now that is what we're seeing. I think it would be extremely exciting. I think it would certainly help to bring both parties together. There's a lot of people who certainly support RFK and his policies and his thoughts, and he seems to be, again, a genuine guy. Really middle of the road Democrat, old school Democrat. So it would really be interesting to see RFK and Trump work together. So really cool. Stay safe, RSBN. Thank you, Susan. Certainly appreciate that. We're certainly trying. Pepe for Trump. Awaken America. Thank you. Let's see. What else are you guys saying? William Jones. Hey, Mike. Hey, thanks. Appreciate it. Be careful. It's hot. Yes, it certainly is. Tucson for Trump. That's awesome. God bless President Trump. Absolutely. Guys in the studio, go ahead and repeat that. I missed that. Can you say that once again here?
On President Trump now, is it just a media presence there, or are there anybody else watching? What's it like out there?
Hey, Matthew, thanks for that. Yeah, so there, like I said earlier, the media presence is really massive. It's not what we see at the rallies. We've probably got 10 times the media. The riser is absolutely packed here with media from local, national coverage. There are some... it's slated that we saw there are supposed to be some local folks here that are going to tour the border with President Trump when he does arrive. He's going to go on a short tour of the border. So there is local law enforcement here. There are some locals. There seems to be some ranchers and things like that are out here that, from what I understand, they live on the border. The border runs through their property. So they're expected to tour and speak with President Trump upon his arrival.
And also, Mike, so you're originally from California, right?
Yeah, I originally was from Florida, moved to California in 2015, have worked in the entertainment industry for some time. And, due to the policies, due to the Hollywood strike and things like that, my family and we ended up relocating to Las Vegas, Nevada, of all places. And we have been there for about 6 months or so.
And then, so can you tell me about, when it comes to California, if you were in SoCal, was that an immigration problem, a lot going on there that you saw, and what years was that?
Well, we just moved. We just moved about 6 months ago. So, we were there really in the height of, the border immigration, just explosion. There was, coming through San Diego, one time I can tell you, I did have the opportunity to speak with Customs and Border Patrol. Actually, it was the Miramar Air Show, which is a really amazing air show that they hold at the Top Gun facility there in San Diego. And in speaking with Customs and Border Patrol, it was astonishing to hear how they have truly, how the Biden-Harris administration has truly tied their hands in terms of what they can do. The drug interdiction folks out on the boats, their job is still the same. They're there to stop the drugs. But when it came to the guys with the boots on the ground, actually at the border, they referred to themselves as Walmart greeters. In a sense, people are coming in, they're taking names and, giving them some waters, some drinks, and then putting them on a bus and sending them on their way.
Wow, that's something right there. If you guys are just joining us now live, that's RSBN correspondent Mike Fortin live holding down the fort there in southern Arizona. I'm Matthew Alvarez here in our RSBN studios. We do know President Trump will be inspecting and touring the border there around 2:30 Eastern, so that's about 9 minutes ago. 2:45, the president will meet with everyday Americans and also people also that have lost some loved ones because of the southern border crisis. And then, Mike, we know that President Trump will be there at 3 o'clock Eastern. It'll be quite interesting, Mike, if if the president takes any questions from the press. Obviously you're right there, so it'll be great to get a question in. Meantime, we do know, Mike, that obviously it's 93 degrees out there in Arizona, but it's been quite a tour for President Trump and J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance touring as well today in various states. President Trump there in Arizona today and tomorrow, and then before that, that Glendale rally, he'll be in Las Vegas for a stop. So a lot of touring, Mike, and you were just at one of the recent rallies, right?
Yeah, President Trump is really making a tour this week. We were just in York, Pennsylvania, and Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, while President Trump was getting ready for the DNC. I know tonight one interesting thing is during Kamala Harris's speech, President Trump is going to be going live and giving his comments live while Kamala Harris is accepting her nomination. Again, not receiving any votes, but going ahead and receiving a presidential nomination. You talk about just a crazy world. But yeah, President Trump has been making the tour. He's out here talking to Americans when he can, visiting, critical sites like the border, really just trying to get a sense and feet on the ground and talking to Americans, just getting their concerns, really feeling what's going on. People talk all the time about President Trump and how he speaks and things like that. But, he's a businessman. He was brought up buy cheap, sell high. He is a businessman. He is not a politician. He has not been groomed, for 50 years in office. He's a guy, he has his pulse on America and what the American people are feeling. And he's getting out there. He's hitting the trail. He's hitting it hard. I think we're obviously going to see, things really ramp up in terms of rallies and seeing President Trump talking about the issues that are facing everyday Americans. As we get closer to Election Day, I believe we are 74, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we're 74 days away from Election Day. So things really set to ramp up and heat up as this race. One other interesting fact is President Trump is ahead in all the battleground states from a report that I saw this morning. So he was up quite a bit against Biden. Things closed up a little bit when Harris came in, but I think that we're starting to see that honeymoon phase really fade, and President Trump has really closed that gap and is now overtaken again in every battleground state. So good news for President Trump.
Exactly. I agree with you 100% there. And we were talking about President Trump on Truth Social tonight with that play-by-play starting at 10 Eastern. While Harris is up on stage lying for most likely 100% of her speech, President Trump on, of all places, Truth Social will be sharing his play-by-play with that. So that's going to be must-watch social media, if you know what I mean. So good point there. And I also think, Mike, the reason why the left is hating on Trump so much sometimes is because he is a common-sense alpha male, and they don't like that. But you know what? That is not a problem to be someone that's a strong leader and has peace through strength when it comes to our international people out there, leaders that are out there. Mike, we're going to get back to you in just a second. Do want to talk to you about the Wellness Company, one of our great sponsors here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. All you have to do is go to makecaregreatagain.com. You can get a 15% off of these kits. I have one of them right here. The Wellness Company sent us some of the kits. It says the Contagion Emergency Kit. So anything from ivermectin, a Z-Pak, amoxicillin, all sorts of good prescriptions there. You go through a medical form. Once that gets approved and everything gets taken care of, they'll send this to you at your house. There's also another one over here. This is the Medical Emergency Kit, along with the Contagion Emergency Kit. So two great products offered by the Wellness Company. We know always good to have something like that, whether it's in your car or at your workplace. MakeCareGreatAgain.com. Use that promo code RSBN. So let's go back out live to Mike right now in southern Arizona. One of our correspondents, Mike, RSBN correspondent Nikki Stanzione actually sent me this report. I want to read this to you. The U.S. Supreme Court on Thursday revived part of an Arizona voter law requiring documented proof of U.S. citizenship to register to vote. in response to a request from the Republican National Committee and Arizona Republicans. You know, it's interesting to see that the states are saying, you know what, I already want this 20 GOP platform promises to start being enacted right now because this is such a problem down there on the southern border.
Yeah, you know, it's one of those things where, again, it just comes back to common sense, Matthew. It's to think that we have been even considering the fact that illegal immigrants would be able to vote in our country's election. There was so much talk about interference with Russia and things like that, the Russia hoax with President Trump, and now we have the Democrats trying to pull the wool over Americans' eyes by importing voters. We've never seen this. This is truly third world country tactics, trying to overtake an election by importing illegal voters. So everything that states can do, I know Alabama just recently found that they had 3,600 illegal immigrants registered to vote. They were able to take them off and remove them from voter registration. But this, again, Alabama being a red state traditionally, what does that mean for states that are traditionally blue that aren't looking for that and are looking to get as many votes that they can for the left? I mean, so anything that these states can do, and us as a country should truly be doing everything we can to make sure that voter ID is required. We know that we need it, and again, 100% good for Arizona.
Yeah, exactly. And you see a number of organizations out there trying to clear the voting rolls, but also having committeemen, committeewomen that are in charge of various things within the elections. You know, election security, election integrity, so much for a free and fair election as well. But we do know number 19 on that GOP platform list is secure our elections, including same-day voting, voter ID, paper ballots, and proof of citizenship. So we see that the GOP is working on hopefully having a free and fair election moving forward. But as we know, Arizona went through so many problems in 2020, and then for the Carrie Lake situation when she was running for governor. This Katie Hobbs is just like any other governor, so-called governor across the country, like Mr. Walz, you know, out there in Minnesota, and Shapiro in Pennsylvania. I mean, these are people that just say they have the country's best interest in mind. But Mike, as you know, what we're hearing on the left is a constant lie to the American people and trying to just bash the good name of President Trump. He did great things for our country, Mike. He did great things during that first administration.
I wholeheartedly agree with you, Matthew. You know, what we've seen coming from, you know, the DNC has just put what a pathetic, empty, and unproductive party they truly are. When you are going into the DNC, of all events, you know, the holy grail, if you will, for Democrats, and your main topic is the person you're running against, and you're unable to put forth any sort of policy, anything that's coherent that people can really latch onto. It's truly, you know, we've heard President Trump talk about things that are low energy, and I sadly have wasted my time watching the DNC, hoping to hear something, you know, at least if there was something substantive that could go against President Trump, but they haven't put anything forth. So it's truly just, it's been a pathetic attempt to try and, you know, downplay President Trump and say things. We've seen Biden when he was there at his 12 o'clock slot when they finally tried to ship him off, you know, and get rid of him forever, that, you know, he again repeated lies about remarks that President Trump made. I don't even want to repeat them because it's just they're awful things. We know President Trump didn't say it. These have been fact checked. That you can check it on Snopes. So, you know, we know. These are the people that are rejoicing at the loss of freedom. You know, because I think they just feel so pathetic about their own lives. They're out of touch, you know, from what I see with a lot of the Democrats here and a lot of the remarks that they make, seeing what a disaster it is outside of the DNC, hundreds of thousands of protesters. people, there's zero respect for law enforcement, breaking down walls. And speaking of walls at the DNC, we're here at the southern border where we're seeing a great portion of the wall that President Trump built. But DNC surrounded. They say that they're the party to welcome people and bring people in and bring people together, and yet they have massive walls around the DNC to keep the people that they say they want to bring in out.
Exactly. It's unbelievable. I mean, we need the wall to be completed by President Trump under a second administration. Also, I'm getting some news, reported news here. I'm going to find it. It was just on my phone. I don't see it right now. I'll get back to that in a second. But, we need the walls around our southern border and, of course, the northern border as we hopefully shut down the border. As President Trump said on a phone interview earlier today, you're allowed right now as the commander-in-chief to shut down the border, to completely close it. You don't need a bill, President Trump said. You can simply close the border. So you're seeing on one side of your screen there, and you're hearing from our RSBN correspondent, Mike Fortin, right now. The reason why he's not on camera is because obviously we're waiting to see President Trump arrive there and then, of course, take to that podium. I am going to try and find this article that was just sent to me by some of our producers here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. I can't seem to locate it. I literally just had it up, but I'll get back to that in a second. So we do know, again, President Trump will be speaking around 3 o'clock Eastern time, so 12 o'clock on the West Coast there in Arizona, as tomorrow's going to be a great day for Glendale, Arizona, as we know President Trump will be speaking, Kari Lake, Andy Biggs, Abe Hamadeh, and others. Always good to see that. Speaking of Abe Hamadeh, as we await President Trump to be seen there in Arizona, producers, if we can air that Abe Hamadeh interview, hopefully we can keep the live shot as well from Cochise County right now. Just let me know, guys, if that's something that we can do. Again, number 19, secure our elections, including same-day voting, voter IDs, paper ballots, and proof of citizenship. I'm told we can go to that Abe Hamadeh interview from earlier this week. We'll keep that live, split screen for you. As soon as President Trump is seen anywhere there, we'll be going right there live. So let's go to that Abe Hamadeh interview out of Arizona. So much for joining us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Thank you for having me on.
Definitely. A lot going on, of course, in the state of Arizona. You being a Trump-endorsed candidate, always a good thing. What are your thoughts about the DNC last night? It was kind of an interesting event.
Well, I think we have to kind of take a step back. How are we in this position where Joe Biden was, put out as the nominee, and they placed Kamala Harris with no votes. They placed Tim Walz with no votes. The same people who call us a threat to democracy are the true threats to democracy. They just hijacked the nomination convention in the process and subverted the will of the people. But if you look at Hillary Clinton was up there, it's kind of interesting to see her, because I know she had a lot of aspirations to be the first female president. Now she's up there getting behind Kamala. Then you had AOC over there. I mean, all of them, they're espousing truly socialist policies. And that's what's so scary right now, is the Democrat Party has truly become the party of socialism, of communism. I mean, they're openly calling for price controls. So the contrast couldn't be clearer right now between what the Republicans stand for, which is peace, prosperity, and safety, versus what the Democrats have, what we've lived under the Democrats, which is chaos, misery, and destruction. So, no matter the gaslighting they say and the lies that they say, I think the American people are waking up and that they're seeing that there's a clear difference between Kamala Harris and President Trump.
Yeah, 100%. We know what it was like under President Trump in the first administration. Contrast that to what it's like now is unbelievable. Did you see, I don't know if you saw this on Truth Social, the Trump team posted a electoral map of the results between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, and they said, we're just going to leave that there for the people to see. I mean, it's just the truth of what happened. Let's get to a Truth Social post. Speaking of that you posted on the 12th of August. You said, I am proud of MAGA. You are honoring our founding fathers by being awake and speaking the truth. Our country has been hijacked. It's going to take all of us to save it. Your primary victory proved that we can beat the billionaires, the corrupt media, the establishment, fake Republicans, and Democrat Marxists. Mic drop, Abe. Mic drop. I mean, that was awesome, and it really encouraged a lot of people. Can you talk to us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, if you actually find the best post I do is always on Truth Social. I kind of save that and reserve that for that audience just because I know everybody over there is like-minded, and it's true. You know, it's going to take all of us defeat this cabal that has really controlled Washington D.C. and our country. So that's what I'm showing, and it really gave. I think my primary victory was an inspiration to many. I mean, we did take on. I mean, I think total it was about $10 million spent against me between the Koch brothers and all these billionaires. I mean, it was an insane type of primary, and I think people were underestimating me, and it's because they underestimate the American people. And we are so much stronger than they can ever even imagine. We just have to stay united. That's why, President Trump, that man took a bullet for all of us. And if you look at the American people stand behind President Trump and candidates like me and Carrie Lake, because we fight the corrupt system. We have to be fearless in these times, in these dark times. And, honestly, these people aren't scary. I mean, they're just out, they're just humans who just have an agenda. So you just have to smile in the face of evil. That's why I always say I'm a happy warrior, because the best warriors fight for what they love. And I love my country. I know so many people in this America First movement do too. And that's why we are still in battle. We are going to go out and vote this November, even though we know our elections are a mess and compromised. But in order to get out of this mess, we have to have it too big to rig, just like my primary victory showed. And what we have to do is, after I take office and when Carrie Lake's a senator here in Arizona, when President Trump's back in the Oval Office, we're going to bring election integrity to the forefront, because I know it's one of the most pressing issues that I constantly hear on the campaign trail. And, things can change quickly. It changed quickly when President Trump won back in 2016, and it's going to change quickly after 2024, because President Trump, in many ways, he has that experience that he didn't have back then to now know how to go after some of these corrupt officials in the deep state.
Exactly. And then so many people right now, a lot of organizations, as you know, out there working for that election integrity and security for this election. But to your point, one of the GOP platforms, I believe it's number 19, is all about securing our election. So obviously that a big key. Now back to the DNC, night one. I heard a few of the Democratic speakers and statewide leadership say that Donald Trump, quote, only cares about himself. Unbelievable to hear that so many times. That was a narrative they kept preaching, but I saw that gas prices were $1.87. That was for us. Freedom's for us. A bullet for us, as you mentioned. Can you believe that, Abe, that they would. Okay, so we were going to get back to that Abe Hamadeh interview in just a bit. If you'd like to watch that, you can see that on Rumble and just scrub back on that. The reason why we're cutting into this coverage right there is because of this helicopter flying around a little bit. Not sure the details as to why that helicopter is flying in that area. We do know, now again, this is not in conjunction with this report that I'm about to share with you, but I do know that there's a report out there from the Daily Mail that Ronald Lee Servad, he's 66 years old, is being urgently sought by Arizona authorities after he allegedly threatened to shoot former President Donald Trump during a trip to the southern border on Thursday. This, according to some of our people here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, but it's not confirmed. This is a report from the Daily Mail. There are possibly other reports out there. I don't see all of them right now, but this was sent to me to share with you, the viewer, that may be in connection with that helicopter flying around looking in the area. We don't know. We don't have a confirmation on that, but we're just seeing what we can show you there. The helicopter, of course, flying around. And Mike Fortin, are you there, Mike?
Yeah, what's that? Copy. President Trump is arriving as we speak. I can tell you right now that the reports have been confirmed. Cochise County has confirmed there is an active manhunt underway for someone who has put a threat on President Trump's life. As you can see, his motorcade is pulling up right now. This is an active and confirmed manhunt right now in Cochise County as President Trump is arriving for his remarks. We will keep you up to date as we learn what's going on, but we have been informed this is 100% a real threat. Okay, well, there you go. And that helicopter may be looking, obviously, on the ground there for any actual threats right there at that scene. As you mentioned, Mike,
Mike Fortin out there holding down the fort again for us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. There you see President Trump's motorcade with Secret Service, all of the plainclothes officers and others around standing by as President Trump will be doing a tour and inspecting the southern border there. I believe if you look at what's there, it might be some of the wall that was supposed to be built. Who knows? But you do see a lot of that there in Cochise County. Again, this is Right Side Broadcasting Network as we await remarks from President Trump. A scheduled event, the fourth, if not fifth stop so far this week for the Trump campaign. And of course, President Trump will be in Glendale tomorrow and Las Vegas tomorrow for a couple stops. Glendale being the huge rally where Kerry Lake and Abe Hamadeh and others will be speaking there live in Glendale. We'll have our cameras there as well. And as you see, we have a camera there in Cochise County, and RSBN correspondent Mike Fortin is there. Mike, so you can confirm that, I mean, did you see President Trump in that SUV? Or, I mean, obviously it's him in my opinion, but did you see him at all?
I was unable to see him from my vantage point based on the movement that I'm seeing on the ground. I believe he is in the vehicle. I don't see the remainder of the motorcade here because it's very, very limited space. As also you mentioned, there is remnants of President Trump's wall that has yet to be built. That is all over the place. As far as the eye can see, there is just piles and piles of steel from when President Trump was in office, and unfortunately this wall was cut short. But it does appear, based on the movement that I'm seeing on the ground and security on the ground, that President Trump has arrived. He is expected to tour the area for about 15 or 20 minutes or so before he gives his remarks. But we're starting to see, it looks like, some members of the public and maybe some figures here in Cochise County arriving on site with the rest of President Trump's entourage. And again, just to confirm, we do have confirmed reports that this is an active search for a real threat. The helicopter is still circling the area. I can tell you that Secret Service does have their eyes all over the area. You know, a little tense here on the media riser, I'll be honest with you. We don't know what to expect, but obviously we do feel pretty secure with the security that we have. Definitely security around the media area has increased as well. So we will keep you up to date as we learn more.
Yeah, definitely. That's RSBN correspondent Mike Fortin live along the southern border. I'm Matthew Alvarez here at the RSBN studios. I believe I did see the 45th president and hopefully the 47th president outside of the SUV there. A number of people surrounding him in the sense of security and officials from that area. Obviously, he would not get the green light at this point down there, especially with some of those reports that are out there with that man that was saying some threats. But at the end of the day, we know he wouldn't be walking out of that SUV if it wasn't a safe spot there with a number of local law enforcement, state, county, federal as well there along the southern border as President Trump is getting that look. You know, he talks about this a lot in his speeches. He says, you know, I've got miles and miles of wall that I've built, but also, you see it right there. That is the wall that President Trump has not been built yet. The steel for that wall. So he's getting a real close look at that right now. And of course, we'll be spending some time with a number of American families that have lost loved ones due to this terrible open border problem that has brought in a lot of crime, has brought in fentanyl, has brought in more than 10 million illegal immigrants from the southern border. On top of that, the possibility of non-citizens voting in our U.S. general elections some 74 days away. Mike Fortin, your thoughts right now, sir, as you see President Trump. You might not see him from your vantage point. I know it's the camera zoomed in, but what is it like to be there where President Trump has always talked about this southern border and the wall that he has built?
Well, to see him on site of something that he himself has been personally responsible for, I cannot see him. I cannot see him from my vantage point where I am. But I can tell you that, knowing that he's put so much, sweat equity into getting this wall built and really just doing his best to stymie these illegal immigration efforts. It'll be great. One of the things that I expect today is for President Trump to deliver very passionate remarks. Again, one thing that he stood on since day one of his presidency and throughout this run is illegal immigration, and we've seen what it's done to the country. We've seen what it's done to states like New York and California, and notably Texas and Arizona. Obviously there's everywhere you go along the border, everyone has their issues, whether it's the actual illegal immigration itself, whether it's the drug crisis the cartels bringing in fentanyl, or human trafficking, which, I personally don't believe we hear enough about. But to be here and really hear more about the horrors of the fentanyl crisis and the human trafficking, which was tragic earlier when I was talking to law enforcement. So, I really look forward to hearing him give an impassioned and bold speech here in Cochise County at the border.
And be quick while he's not.
Mike, I hear you loud and clear. And then you see President Trump in the center of your screen right now. This broadcast brought to you by Free Trump Book, freetrumpbook.com. If you're looking to get the reversal of all of the indoctrination from some school districts out there with the youth, the Free Trump Book is something that helps paint the correct picture of the truth of what really happened under the first President Trump administration. And also there's a number of other topics that are topics with these books that you can get at the freetrumpbook.com. Including American greatness and fighting socialism and other topics. So always good to have a product like that. So it's freetrumpbook.com. All right, so President Trump on his Truth Social account said something about today's visit, and I'm going to get to that right here. He said, quote, "Today I am going to inspect the southern border and to meet with the victims whose loved ones were attacked and murdered by illegal aliens set free into America by Comrade Kamala Harris, the radical left Democrat presidential candidate who didn't receive one vote, and in her earlier attempt to win against crooked Joe Biden was the first one out of 22 people to quit the race and never made it to the first state, Iowa." All right, so that post continues to go on there, but talking about Comrade Kamala Harris, or Kamala, however you want to announce the first name there, Kamala, that's how I've said it. Comrade Kamala Harris will bring in hundreds of thousands more illegal alien rapists, drug dealers, and killers. But President Donald J. Trump will keep these same people out of our country and send them back to their countries where they belong. I will keep America safe. So as you see there, President Trump shaking hands of people from the area, meeting families, also speaking with various local law enforcement right now as you are watching live coverage here as President Trump visits the southern border in Cochise County. This one of many stops this week for the president. J.D. Vance also touring the country. Tomorrow, President Trump will have a huge rally in Glendale. Prior to that, a stop in Las Vegas. But the story of the day right here, the truth teller, President Trump, the common sense president there on the southern border is something Harris has done maybe once under the Harris-Biden administration. So as you guys know, a lot of lies on the left from the DNC in Chicago all week. They all sound like they're true, but they're not. That's just twisting the truth. And that's what they've been saying about the 45th president all week, mentioning his name. Mike, as you know, Mike Fortin live there in Cochise County. I mean, can you believe it? 314 times they've used President Trump's name so far this week, and that is pales in comparison when they've talked about the economy maybe 6 or 7 times.
Yeah, I mean, they are the DNC and the speakers have really truly been passionate about their lies when it comes to Donald Trump. And to your remark earlier, Kamala Harris has never visited the southern border. She did visit a customs office, a Customs and Border Patrol office, but she has never set foot at an actual border. So, again, it just goes to show President Trump has been to the border many, many times. I don't know that we've seen President Biden at a border in his 3.5 years. I may be wrong, but I can tell you that without a doubt, Kamala Harris, the border is among the last things that she's concerned with. I believe that they really just are truly out of touch. They're all so wealthy. It's ironic how wealthy the Democrats are, wanting, such equality and wanting to give, those less fortunate, more quality, while, folks like Oprah are standing there worth $2 billion and talking about equity and getting chances and things like that. It's really just disgusting to hear that these people are so out of touch. And you look at something like the Maui wildfires and so many innocent people affected and lost their homes, and you have someone like an Oprah, asking to donate money when herself barely donated, I think it was maybe $1 million. And we're talking with someone who's worth over $2 billion and isn't doing more to help people, but can go up there and push the lies of the Democratic Party, push the lies of Kamala Harris, Tim Walz, and again, not giving anything of substance, just telling us how bad Donald Trump would be. And we know that that's simply not the case. Passing those lies off as truth during the DNC, it's just been a really terrible look and a really terrible display for the Democrats this past week.
Exactly right, Mike, and that's a lot of the lies on the left that are happening. Now, I want to let our viewers know our audio, our camera vantage point is way back with the press riser. There are only a few radio and maybe some others there, but this is President Trump now walking closer to the podium, so we didn't have audio on that. That's pretty far. Our camera actually zoomed in quite some distance to that point, and that southern border there is not a place that we can just kind of roam and walk around. That's a very secure area, especially on the heels of a report that we shared with you earlier. So only a select few are there. Obviously, all of the other cameras do not have the audio of what President Trump is saying right there specifically, but we do know that he will be saying most likely all of that information as he takes the podium. We'll have that obviously live for you here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. He's meeting with families there. He's also speaking. He was speaking with some of the officials there, law enforcement, local, state, county, federal, as he is right next to, look at that vantage point there, right next to some of the steel that was for the wall that he was intending to build. And he will continue to build that under a second Trump administration. He'll be able to finish the job. So President Trump standing not too far from our cameras, but definitely not close enough for any of the media that's on that press riser right now to hear the actual audio. We do see that one camera there, but that is it. But we do know that he'll be walking, of course, closer to the podium and will be delivering his remarks there along the southern border. Yet another action speaking louder than words with President Trump. It's not just talking about the border. It's not just saying that he wants to build a wall. And he built, hundreds of miles of it down there in the south. But he's also visiting it right this second. While the left wing, the Democrat leadership, they can complain all they want about the economy right now. They can complain all they want about illegal immigration. But as you guys know, watching at home, they are not doing anything about it. They're so-called in power right now, and they're complaining about the economy. They're complaining about the border. Well, they're the ones that already have the so-called office. We all know what happened in 2020. We know that President Trump should actually be wrapping up his second administration right now, if you want to hear my personal opinion, right? But we do know that he is obviously running for all of America as a president for all of America this 2024 election cycle. Let's go back to Mike Fortin there. Mike, you know, we were talking before, you being you said you were from Florida, you've been living in California, and now you've moved since then. But the southern border is just, you know, for the people that live in Pennsylvania or Kansas or Idaho and all that around the country, they don't understand sometimes how terrible it is living along the southern border, even though sometimes they do get shipped there, illegal immigrants do as well.
Yeah, I think the immigration problem doesn't reach necessarily that far when you're talking about middle America, so they're not able to relate to people that are in these border cities, in these border towns, you know, that are affected by this on a day-to-day basis. I heard some folks talking earlier giving their stories of getting woken up in the middle of the night with people running through their property, running, you know, excuse me one second as we get to remarks.
27 years I've been defending this border, and I can tell you that we have never seen a border as chaotic as the one we're at now. The southern border and now the northern border are completely out of control. Under President Trump, we had the best policies in place that dropped levels to the levels that were the lowest in the history of this country. Now we have the complete opposite. President Trump knew exactly what needed to be done. He listened to the experts. To my right is what we call Trump Wall. This was wall that was built under President Trump. To my left, we have what we call Kamala Wall. It's just sitting there doing nothing, laying down. That's what this border's become, an open border. The country on the national stage isn't respected because we need somebody strong like President Trump. We need him in there to make sure that we close the border, protect our fellow citizens from the amounts of Chinese fentanyl that's crossing the borders, making its way into cities and towns across the country, killing our citizens. Hundreds and hundreds, thousands and thousands of people are dying every day. Cartel violence is at an all-time high. Illegal immigrant crime is at an all-time high. We've got our citizens, our brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers, friends, neighbors that are being killed every day by illegal aliens that are committing crimes that were brought into this country by this administration. They allowed them unfettered access to our borders. They're being released by the tens of thousands. Over 10 million known people have been released into this country by this administration. The untold number of gotaways is astounding. That's something that should scare everybody in this country, because the known gotaways are what we know got away, but the unknown gotaways are those people that have elected to evade apprehension. And by evading apprehension, they're telling us one thing: they do not want to be caught. These are bad people, criminal aliens. We need somebody strong on this border like President Trump.
Thank you, President. August 22nd, 2017, a few months into his presidency, President Trump came to Yuma, Arizona to evaluate firsthand how his policies were benefiting the city of Yuma. It was a great visit. He spoke with over 100 AMO, CBPO, and Border Patrol agents. During that time, he shook every single one of their hands. He listened to every single one of their concerns, and he acted on that. November 19th, 2023, President Trump was in Edinburgh, Texas, serving National Guardsmen, DPS officers, and a few off-duty Border Patrol agents. During that time, he shook over 200 people's hands and listened to what they had to say. These are the rank and file. That's why that wall is successful. He listened to the men and women that were on the front lines on exactly what needed to be on that wall. He listened to what they have to say. Contrast that with Kamala Harris, and nobody can say that I didn't try to work with her. I met with her transition team. I told her transition team exactly what would happen if they got rid of his policies. We suggested policies to her within her parameters, and she refused to listen. I met with Secretary Mayorkas, again, trying to work with this administration. I supported Secretary Mayorkas' confirmation. It was a big mistake that would never happen again. But in conveying to him, again, the policies that would actually work within their parameters, Kamala Harris completely ignored those policies. She claims that she wants a humane, safe border. Yet what she's given us is absolute chaos. We had a safe border. She could have implemented policies. She refused to do this. This election is going to come down to policies. And when you compare President Trump's policies, it doesn't matter. Economic policies, foreign policy, border security policy, it doesn't matter. You compare those policies side by side, and he wins every day. That's why we have to have somebody in the White House that is going to listen to the women and men that know what they're talking about, that are on the ground, like President Trump did before and like he will do again. President Trump will be back in the White House, and we will secure this border. Thank you, President.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mark Downs. I'm the sheriff here in Cochise County, Arizona here, and also the chairman for National Sheriff Association for Border Security. Let me just say, on behalf of America's sheriffs, behalf of my good citizens here and all those who wear a badge, thank you, President Trump, for coming here. We appreciate you, and it's good seeing you again also. I will say this. My community's tired. My community's frustrated. Over the last 3.5 years, what we've dealt in this county when it comes to crime, the policies that have failed this country, the policies that have failed our citizens, and the tragedies that my neighbors are addressing silently because nobody's listening. Over the last 31 months here in Cochise County, to see the real impact of a community, we have booked 3,762 people in my county jail for border-related crimes. These are not immigration issues. These are border-related crimes up to double-digit murders. It's cost my county $12.5 million. I get $0 from the federal government on that. When President Trump took office, 6 years ago, you probably never heard much about fentanyl. President Trump's last year in office in 2020, there was a little 2 million pills seized in Arizona. Last year, there was 111 million fentanyl pills seized in Arizona. You wonder where the epidemic's coming from? It's our cartels who have been allowed to commit these crimes. And I'll say this, thanks to 51% of Congress, we have cut our DEA budgets in this country. We have less DEA agents in Arizona than we ever had before, and we lead the nation with fentanyl. I will say this, here's the community touch, our neighbors. These mountains right behind me here, we had a Border Patrol agent attacked early in the morning by 2 migrants, came across the border illegally, tried to cut his throat. Months later, had a deputy tried to interdict a smuggler at 100 miles an hour who met Mr. Trump, President Trump, this morning, almost killed. We called the chaplain because we thought he was leaving us. The impact we saw on that. The river behind you, we had the cartels trying to kidnap my deputies, my border team, to torture them. We had the cartel come across the border early mornings to kidnap and kill one of my deputies because they're allowed to think that way. They're allowed to think that way. My deputies, troopers, agents, and officers in this county have endured more harm by the hands of the cartels, and no one is addressing them except local law enforcement and our agents and our troopers. I will say this as I close out. America's sheriffs have stood strong on the voice to secure our borders. We have tried everything to meet with President Biden and Vice President Harris, the border czar. This is the first president administration in modern day that has never met with one America's sheriff to address border. That's a shame. And you wonder why we don't have engagement, prioritization, and that's why we're suffering in this country. When President Trump was president, I was at the White House more than you could think of. He was always there for us. I can assure you, Mr. President, this community and our law enforcement professionals will never give up hope. To us, hope is confidence, hope is commitment, hope is courage, and your visit today renews our hope here. Thank you, Mr. President, for being here.
So thank you very much, everybody. It's a very sad time for this country in many ways. You had a candidate. I was no fan of Joe Biden, but the way he was taken out was a coup. He got 14 million votes, and the person running now got none. She was disgraced. She was figured out by the Democrat voters. She never made it to Iowa. She was the first one out of approximately 22 people that were running for the Democrat nomination. She never even made it to Iowa. Beautiful place, Iowa. But she didn't. Plenty of people did. And Biden got 14 million votes. She got no votes, and now she's running against us. The good news is I think we're winning in the polls based on what I'm seeing. And after the debate, we were winning by many points, as you know, against Biden. They went in to see him. They said, "You're losing. You're not going to win. You can't win. We're going to get you out." It was a coup of an American president, and it was done with anger, and he's more angry than anybody. And again, I'm no fan of his. I think he was perhaps the worst president. He was the worst president, largely because of what's happened at the border. He's allowed, in my opinion, and in the opinion of the gentleman behind me who know this better than anybody, much more than 20 million people into our country, many from prisons and jails, and many from mental institutions, insane asylums, and many terrorists. And this was, when I left, this is a very famous chart now because this chart probably saved my life. But this chart is showing, the arrow on the bottom shows that this was the lowest. This was the last week in office for me because of a horrible, horrible election where I got many millions more votes than I got the first time, but didn't quite make it, just a little bit short. We got to clean up our borders. We have to clean up our elections, or we're not going to have a country. But that's my last week. The arrow on the bottom, you see, that's the lowest point, as the gentlemen were talking. That's the lowest point in the recorded history of the border. This was done by Border Patrol. This wasn't done by Trump. This was done by Border Patrol, working with ICE and law enforcement. And that's what we're going to do. Again, if you take a look, interestingly, at all of the wall that's laying on its side, that could have been put up in a matter of weeks. It was all set to go. It was all cut out. And if you look at the top of the mountain behind us, it was all shaped, all ready to go. Could have been put up in a few weeks. Much of it's been sold for 5 cents on the dollar. It's very expensive. I worked with Border Patrol very closely. We worked, Brandon, we worked with all of Paul, all of your people. And we wanted to design something that worked. And we actually had mountain climbers. We even had drug climbers. They call them drug climbers. They can get over a wall so incredible with 75 pounds of drugs on their back. They can climb up things. And we designed this after looking at a lot of different designs. And that's an anti-climb panel that makes it very tough for somebody to climb. This was the one they wanted. A little more expensive version, but this is the one that's a very important panel on top. And it's called anti-climb. And this was put in here just to shade us because there's a lot of rough people on the other side. So I figured you're the media, you want to be shaded. This gets taken off. This is just temporary to shade us from potential hazard. We know about hazards. But all of this wall was built at great expense, and all it had to be, erected. We just had to be stood up on its end, concrete on the bottom, goes down 6 feet. That also went down and shielded from tunnels because we went down about as far as it's practical for them to go down. They build tunnels under walls. We went down pretty deep. We'd go down a lot deeper than the wall, made it very tough for them. And we stopped that, and we stopped people from coming over. But when they refused to, I built hundreds of miles of this, by the way, as far as the eye can see. You look at the other direction, as far as the eye could see. And then I'd hear people say, "Oh, he didn't build the wall." We built the wall. We built much more than I was anticipated to build. And we were going to build an extra 200 miles. Much of this is that, which is much more than I said I was going to do, because as we built it, they would go around the edges. So we were going further and further out, and it worked. We had the best numbers ever, and we had them largely because of the wall and also because the Mexican military helped us, which they never helped at any time. They never helped. And we were very proud of it. So we went from the best numbers in recorded history to the worst numbers in recorded history or any other history. And we have a Marxist that's running, and I don't think you can let her. This country is not ready for a Marxist president. She will never build the wall. She doesn't want to build the wall. She's only saying if she changes her mind, it's only because she wants to get elected, because who wouldn't want to have a strong border? You need strong borders and strong elections, and we have neither. But we're going to have very strong borders, and we're going to have very strong elections soon. The people are fed up. It's common sense. The people are just fed up. And you saw it. Everybody coming from the airport saw the thousands and thousands of people lined up. It looked like Lindbergh coming in from what he did at the time. Broadway, it was amazing when you see all those people it was a long drive from the airport, and so many thousands and thousands of people. The people in my car said, I've never seen anything like that. We're in the middle of an area that's not well populated, and to have thousands of people like that is pretty unbelievable. I hope you got to see it. And I hope the press writes this story fairly, because it's a story of disgrace. We had a border czar who was the border czar. She loved the title, but she didn't want to do the work because she's lazy. And probably more importantly than being lazy, she wants to have an open border. And you say, who would want an open border where criminals can pour into our country? And all you have to do is walk up there, if you have the courage to do it, and go to that open section. Stand there for a little while. You'll be running back here very quickly. You really have to write this fairly, this story, because you people don't want to talk about the border. You don't want to talk about the bad things that are going on in our country. We're going to end up not having a country. You're not going to have any media. We don't have media. They don't have media. They do their own media. They don't need media. But you really should cover this story fairly. Before I begin, I have some, I think, very good words on the border and what to do and how to solve the problem. We had it solved. All they had to do is leave it. Leave it. Just leave it. But before I begin, I want to address the fake job numbers on top of everything else, fellas. Fake jobs. The fake job numbers that the Harris-Biden administration has been reporting for the last year. Thanks to a leaker yesterday, meaning probably in this case a patriot, they were forced to release numbers. They claimed falsely that they created 818,000 jobs. So they said they did almost 1 million jobs, 818,000 jobs that actually didn't exist. They were phantom jobs. They're called phantom jobs. The reason they did that is because I was even a little surprised their job numbers look better, because I know the economy's lousy. Everyone here knows it. It's lousy. These people behind me know it's lousy. We have the worst inflation, I believe, in the history of our country, and that's absolutely killing people. But it's 818,000 jobs, almost 1 million, and these are just the jobs we found out about. There's a lot of other false things that now are being looked at. That number will increase. So they reported false numbers, and this isn't a revision. There's never been anything like this. This is a fraud put out by Harris and by Biden, and they were going to release the real numbers. It's called a revision after the election, but it got found out before the election, and I hope you're going to write about it. But it's a big story, and it's a story that's going to be going very far. People are very upset about it, including government officials are very upset about it. Even people that are Democrats are because it's a pure fraud. You know, when you have a revision, you have a few jobs one way or the other, and they get it straight at the end of the month. But this one was sheltered for a long time, and they wanted to release it after November 5th. I wonder why, when it didn't really matter too much. But even then it mattered. But so I hope you're going to report it. Almost 1 million jobs were phantom jobs. They were fake jobs, just like a lot of reporting is fake. And I hope you're going to report it because people have to hear it. They didn't want these numbers to come out, and they did come out, and I really, the whistleblower or whoever it was that got them to have to do it. Somebody today, a high official said, well, we don't really believe those numbers because Trump gave them. I didn't give them. I got them from the administration, from the Labor Bureau, and these are the stats that were just let out. In fact, officially, I mean, they just came out. They were released in, officially released. Those are official numbers. Has nothing to do with me. I just happen to be playing the role of a reporter for a change. But I hope you're going to do something with it, because I think it's a serious thing. It's the same as everything else. And I'm so glad that we decided to do this. It's a little dangerous to do. I hate to tell you, you guys are in danger with the kind of weaponry that we have, but I felt it was important to do. And this kind of stuff that they put up to shield us, I'm going to make you feel not so good. It doesn't mean a thing compared to what comes through there, but at least they can't see you. But it's dangerous territory, and these people have an unbelievable courage. The Border Patrol, ICE, the police, local law enforcement, unbelievable. I don't even know how they do it. They talk about, I was courageous. I was encouraged. These people are courageous. They go through this every day. And the amount of horrible injuries sustained in fights and shootings are just incredible. Not reported, but incredible. We're here today on the southern border in Arizona, where Comrade Kamala Harris, I call her Comrade because she is a radical left Marxist. She wants open borders. She wants our country. I don't understand why anybody would want it, but she wants our country to be open to the world's criminals so they can come in and rape and pillage and do whatever they have to do. But she's the most radical left person who has ever run for high political office in our country's history. And by the way, the governor, who's done a poor job as governor of Minnesota, Walz, he's done a poor job, very poor job. His numbers are horrible. People are fleeing his state. I love his state. We should have won his state twice, but a lot of hanky-panky goes on there. Hasn't been won since 1972. Richard Nixon was the last one to win it. But every time I go in there, we have massive crowds and everything's good, but nobody seems to be able to win it. So I know why we didn't win it. People don't like to talk about it. But he's a horrible governor, has bad job numbers, bad numbers for leaving, a lot of people leaving the state. And he's insisted, he put a bill. I'm sure the sheriffs would be very happy when they hear this. He signed a bill fairly recently where boys' bathrooms have to have tampons in boys' bathrooms. I don't even like to bring the subject up, but it's a subject you have to hear about. That's what he wants. He's a radical left guy who lied like hell last night, and she'll lie tonight. We're doing a review of her tonight on Truth because she'll lie just like the rest of them lied. They talked about what I said about soldiers. I never said anything. I love our soldiers. They made the story up. It was fiction. We had 26 people countering it, but nobody cares. They made up everything, so many different stories. They made up about Project 25. They've been told officially, legally, in every way that we have nothing to do with Project 25. They know it, but they bring it up anyway. They bring up every single thing that you can bring up. Every one of them was false. He brought them up. But they've unleashed a deadly plague of migrant crime on our country by not doing their job. And all of that plank and all of that very expensive wall, it's also got tremendous electronic capability inside of it. It's got wires for cameras and everything else that you can have. It's the Rolls-Royce of walls, I can tell you. It's very hardened steel outside, 7,000-pound concrete inside, and rebar inside of the concrete, all different, all very hard to get through. And it's sad to see it sitting here. We have crime going on up the road. In this direction, it's as far as you can see is wall. We have no problem there, but they come in where they refuse to put it up. That was when I first realized that they want open borders. I thought nobody could be so foolish or stupid to want open borders and have the world's population, the world's criminal population pour into our country. That's what's happening. But it shattered so many families' lives and stolen so many incredible young lives. And it's also really badly hurt our black population and our Hispanic population because these people are taking their jobs. The jobs now are down, way down for the black population and the Hispanic population, because we have millions of illegal aliens that are poured into our country. They've taken the jobs of African Americans and Hispanics. And that was obvious to me. Next is going to be unions. You watch. The unions are going to start going wild because those jobs are going to be taken too. We're honored to really be here with these incredible people, and in particular with some grieving families. And this is a group of people that I've gotten to know. They're incredible people. They've lost a loved one, and thousands of others are out there, and they are grieving also, but they're not out with you and sitting in this hot sun. I will say this, that at least it gives us a good reason. We're doing something for those incredible people that we'll be talking about very shortly, because we can't let it happen to other people. We can't let what you're going through happen to other families. And you know what you're going through, as we discussed, nobody's ever seen anything like it. All for no reason whatsoever. And these are hardened criminals pouring into our country. And then they always say, Sheriff, oh, the illegal immigrants don't commit crimes like people that live here. It's so wrong. They don't report them, but it's so wrong. They make our criminals look like babies. They make our criminals look like babies. That's about the only thing good. Our criminals all of a sudden don't look so tough to us, right? These are the roughest people, and they're the roughest people from all over the world. Their jails are being emptied from all over the world. Their criminals are being taken from their cities. And by the way, their crime rates are way down. Their crime rates came way down. Venezuela, all of these countries, their crime rates are down. Their prison population's down. Soon they won't have any prison population because 100% of it will be in our country, with the statement, if you ever come back, we will kill you. That's the statement they tell them. If you ever come back to Venezuela and other countries, we will kill you. But it's all over the world. The Congo in Africa, many prisoners let go from the Congo in Africa, rough prisoners. All over Europe they come, from all over, rough sections, the jails. You have to see jail populations are way down. So we've done a lot of trips to the border over the years and told a lot of stories about border victims, including the stories of the amazing angel moms who have never been appreciated. They're incredible women, what they've gone through. They're going through a similar thing. And many of them, I asked about time, but this time, because many of them, this took place a long time ago with borders and horrible people coming in. And I don't have to tell you about the crimes, but the level of viciousness of the crime was unbelievable. But they said time doesn't heal. You know, the expression time heals all wounds. It doesn't. I spoke to some people. They say they're worse now than they were 15 years ago. And this started largely during Obama. And then we stopped it. We had it stopped. And then the first day in, they just said, we're not doing anything. We're not doing anything. And all they had to do is let our people that we had in place, the best people. I was listening to people like Tom Homan, who is, just an incredible patriot, tough, smart, gets it, good man, but he's tough. I've been listening to all these people. They've been friends of mine for a long time. They know it better than anybody. But the level of criminality is unbelievable. It's an onslaught of violence at a level that nobody's ever seen before. For nearly 4 years, as border czar, Comrade Kamala has overseen a nation-wrecking border invasion. This is nation-wrecking. This isn't just like, we're going to fix it a little bit later. Gets to a point where you can't fix it. She's allowed at least 20 million people, all illegal aliens, into our country, including millions and millions of unvetted fighting-age men from over 158 different countries. 150, and most people didn't realize you had that many countries, right? Just recently, Kamala let in the head of a Peruvian gang who was wanted for 23 murders. Welcome to the United States of America. On her orders, Border Patrol is being forced to free tens of thousands of illegal aliens from custody week after week after week. And these are very violent criminals, too. These are the most violent criminals that you'll ever see. Every day brings another story about innocent Americans being tortured, raped, murdered, and massacred by illegal aliens that Kamala Harris has set free in our country. Don't hold them, they're told. Don't hold them, let them free. They'll behave. Well, he killed 20 people. Oh, but over here it's different. Since Comrade Harris took over the border, there has been a 43% nationwide increase in violent crime and a 60% increase in rape. And the FBI should be ashamed of themselves when they report numbers, because they, in order to keep the violence numbers down, they didn't report some of the worst cities in the country like Chicago and others. What a disgrace. The FBI did that. In New York this June, an illegal alien released into our country by Kamala approached two 13-year-old children with a machete in broad daylight in front of other people, forced them into the woods, tied them together by the wrist, and raped them over and over again. Over and over again. Two Kamala migrants were just arrested for the rape of a 46-year-old woman in Coney Island. I know Coney Island very well. That's where I sort of started. My office was out there. Brooklyn, throwing her to the ground and raping her with a knife to her throat. One of them had previously been arrested for raping another woman, but instead of being deported, he was released into our country and told to enjoy your life. In Fort Wayne, Indiana, a woman who was offered a ride home by two illegal aliens was instead kidnapped, held down and raped, then driven around while the illegals discussed how they planned to kill her. They wanted to kill her. They didn't want to have a witness. And she miraculously escaped by throwing herself out of a rapidly moving car, was badly hurt, but she escaped, at least. Those people came from another country, and they were very violent, with an unbelievably violent background. Violence like you've never seen. In the Bronx recently, an illegal alien who Kamala set loose into the country approached a 36-year-old woman while pretending to ask for directions before he wrapped his arms around her throat, pinned her down on a park bench, and raped her publicly on a park bench. And she said, he wasn't trying to rape me, he was trying to kill me. In Michigan earlier this year, an illegal alien broke into a residence and sexually assaulted two young girls, doing tremendous damage to these two young, beautiful girls. In Virginia, a few weeks ago, a 54-year-old mother of four was leaving a convenience store when she noticed an illegal alien trying to steal her car. When she tried to stop him, he ran her down, ran her over, and left her dead on the ground. She was dead, and her family is devastated. In Texas last month, a Venezuelan illegal alien criminal let in by Comrade Kamala shot a female police officer multiple times with a rifle. And she'll never be the same. And that's being nice about it. A few months ago, I met with the devastated family of Laken Riley, a 22-year-old nursing student who was out for a jog on the campus of the University of Georgia when she was assaulted, beaten, and horrifically murdered. Kamala Harris let in the illegal alien animal who murdered Laken. This monster was in Border Patrol custody, under very strong custody. They didn't want to let him go. But under Kamala's policies, he was set free to kill, and that's what he did. Kamala let this bloodthirsty killer go free, and then he murdered beautiful Laken, #1 in her class, nursing school. Everybody aspired to be like her. She was the best student, the best everything. Beautiful girl. Then there's the heartbreaking story of Rachel Morin. And we're joined today by Patty and Michael Morin, Rachel's mother and brother. And I met with them. We had lunch. And they're devastated at a level that nobody can really imagine. Rachel was a cherished 37-year-old mom, beautiful woman of 5 incredible children who adored their mother more than anything in the world. They loved their mom. Earlier this year, while Rachel was out on a run, she wants to keep herself in good shape, and she ends up getting killed. In her neighborhood, she was brutally raped and murdered by an illegal alien who was led into America by Kamala Harris and her policies of stupidity. Savage person who committed this heinous crime first killed another woman in El Salvador before walking across our open border. Just walked right in. They didn't have this then. He then attacked a 9-year-old girl and her mother in a home invasion in Los Angeles where they were very badly hurt before murdering Rachel in the area where Rachel lived, in a very different part of this country. It was cold-blooded murder. Patty and Michael, I would just, first of all, thank you for being here. I know it's tough, but they want to let people understand what's going on here, because this can't happen to other parents and sisters and brothers and husbands. So if you would, I'd love you to say a few words. Thank you. Please. Oh, please. Thank you, darling. Thank you. Come.
Thank you. Thank you for
Take care of
inviting me.
yourself. Absolutely. We don't want it to happen to other people. That's all.
No.
Big thanks.
Yeah. Hi. I was just thanking President Trump for the invitation to come and to share Rachel's story. Rachel was 37 years old. She had 5 children. She worked. She owned a small business. She worked very hard to support her family. And the trail that Rachel ran daily was a trail that we as a family would walk over the last 25 years that we've lived in Maryland. It's a very safe, small trail, very public, very open. Moms with baby carriages go down this trail. It's very safe. I was in Kentucky. We had a grandbaby that had passed away. When I got a phone call from my son, and he said, "Mom, there's somebody here that would like to speak to you." And when I said hello, the person on the other end said, "Hello, Mrs. Morin. This is Detective so-and-so. I'm the lead detective on this case. There's no easy way to tell you this, but we found your daughter's body. And if they find the body, you know that she's dead. But they wouldn't say, 'We found Rachel. She's alive.'" And so they found my daughter's body. And when they found it, it just recently has come out that she was brutally beaten, raped, and then stuffed into a drain pipe. We're 18,000 miles, 1,800 miles from the border. And because of this open border, we've had not just my daughter, but we've actually had 2 in the same county that we're from, where illegal immigrants have come in and have caused rape and murder of our citizens. And the reason why I came here today and I accepted the invitation is because I really want our words to be heard, and I really want you to take to heart what we're saying. We're not here for a political stand, although we are. We're here because we're losing our moms, our daughters, our children to criminals. And that shouldn't happen. We should be taking care of our country, our people. And the only way I believe that's going to happen is if President Trump is reelected as president. And we close up this border and we put policies back into place that were there before, instead of this open border thing. We're going to end up being a third world country if it continues this way. And I hope that you will just take my words to heart, because it's devastating to lose a child, but even more devastating when you see the pictures or you see the body and you really understand what's happened to that person. So please take to heart, this is a very, very important issue, and it's one that's either going to make or break our country. It's not so much, it's about America, it's about Americans, it's about us taking and protecting ourselves and looking out for each other. It's about protecting our families. So, thank you.
Thank you, Tom. So beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, boy. And there's story after story like that. Also with us is Alexis Nungari and Hoamel Guevara, the loving mother and uncle of precious Angel Jocelyn Nungari. Jocelyn was a 12-year-old girl from Houston whose life was stolen by two criminal illegals that Harris freed into our country for no reason whatsoever. They were known as monsters. 2 months ago, after walking to the convenience store, these criminal migrants kidnapped Jocelyn, tied her up for 2 hours, violently assaulted her, and strangled her violently to death. Charged with Jocelyn's wicked murder are two illegal aliens from Venezuela who came across our border. Just walked across like there was nothing to it. Couldn't do that 5 years ago, 4 years ago. They were in Border Patrol custody. They were gotten, they were nabbed, and were then released into our country. Alexis, we cannot fathom your pain. There are so many people that are going through this pain. But we pledge to always hold Jocelyn in our hearts. And Alexis, I'd like to have you maybe come up and say a few words. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
So I would love to thank Donald Trump for giving us this invitation to be here and to say a few words to the staff that's been so kind to help us in this very hard time. My daughter was just 12. She had dreams to be famous. She wanted to be a famous actor. She was so funny. She was her own personality. And it's been very hard. It's been very hard. June 17th was the day her life was taken. She was left with no clothing from the waist down, was thrown in a bayou, left was strangled to death. We believe, yes, she was assaulted off of DNA kit that has been, but it's still very, very early, and it's still very, very raw, and it's still very, very surreal. And they had no reason to do anything that they did to Jocelyn. There was over 300 detention beds that they should have been at because they were detained and they were released when they shouldn't have been released. One had an ankle monitor, didn't stop anything. So now I have to go through the rest of my life with my son, always asking for his sister. And I just really, really, really want everybody to please take into consideration how important border control is, because we're losing very innocent people to heinous crimes that shouldn't be happening in the first place. So please, please, I really hope everybody can hear my pain, to just please, please, he needs to be in office, and we need better control. We need to stop this. We need to stop losing our littles. We need to stop losing children, mothers, sisters. because now I get to grieve every single day. Every milestone that hits gets harder because she's not there for it. She was going to be a 7th grader. She had her whole life ahead of her. Her whole life ahead of her, and it was viciously taken away by 2 evil, heinous monsters. So thank you again for taking the time to listen to my words. And please, help him make a change. Thank you. Thank you.
So Jocelyn is in heaven now, looking down on us right now. And in her name and her memory, we'll be fighting to protect every American daughter and child. That's why we're here, because this will happen and has happened by the thousands. There are thousands of people that are in horrible situations like this. As Kamala gives her convention speech tonight, she will not mention the victims. She won't even talk about them, although now that she sees us, maybe she will. She'll not say their names or express remorse to their families. Kamala says she wants to talk about the future. No, these people want to go back to the safe past. We don't have a future with open borders and all of the other problems this country has. The crime problem, just like they rigged the 818,000 jobs number, they rigged the crime numbers too. And that's also been a proven fact, just came out. But she's stolen the future of Lake and Riley and Rachel and our precious Jocelyn, just taking their lives away for no reason. When I left office, I gave Kamala Harris the strongest and most secure border in American history. These people have done an incredible job. They worked with lots of others. And if you came here illegally, you got caught and you were deported or put in jail, depending on what. In some cases, we put them in jail because we didn't want, they were so violent, we didn't want to take a chance that they'd come back. But generally, they were deported and brought into countries that wouldn't accept them before me. With me, they accepted them. They wouldn't take them back, but with me, they accepted them. I said, you're going to have a lot of problems if you don't. We ended catch and release. We had remain in Mexico. The greatest policy, remain in Mexico. How good was that? Everybody remained in Mexico until they were checked out, and either they came in or not. Most of them didn't qualify. Title 42, Safe Third agreements, and 500 miles of border wall that was very, very difficult to even think about getting over, around, or under. The final gaps of the wall were about to be sealed. Then Kamala came in and dismantled every single Trump border policy and halted all wall construction. And there it sits, but much of it's been sold. This is just a small example of what it was, what it is before they lift it up. So you can see on the ground behind me the sections of wall that taxpayers paid for, a lot of money. But Kamala refused to put up, just refused. She wouldn't do it. Everybody called. I even made some calls. I said, you got to put it up. You got to put it up. But she didn't want it open. She wanted a wide open border. What Biden and Kamala have done to the families here with me and so many others, thousands and thousands of others, not only killed, also really badly hurt to a point where they'll never lead a normal life again. It's shameful and it's evil. Every year under Harris, a new all-time record of illegal immigration has been set. Every single year, our great borders are. She'll blow away Biden's reputation as being the worst president. She'll be a president that'll make him look good, just like Biden made Jimmy Carter look good. To get illegals into America as fast as possible, Harris has flown hundreds of thousands by airplane. You know, then they say, oh, well, we didn't want them to go. But then we found out a few months ago that they're flying him in over the border by airplanes to all over our country. Well, that means they do want them to come in, and flying in some very dangerous people. It's close to 1 million people, we think. Close to 1 million people were flown in over the border, and she's trying to say, well, we're in favor of borders. She just started this a short while ago. She's even launched a smartphone program that gives fast pass entry to thousands of illegal immigrants, all coming very quickly. You use the smart pass and you get immediate access into our country. Can you believe this? And then they're trying to say we believe in borders. They're flying right over our heads, right into the middle states, all over. Every border, and you've heard this, every border, you look at the different states and put another way, every state is a border state now when you think about it, because they just come right past here and they get taken to other states that never even thought of a problem like this. And those are not happy campers. According to a new DHS report, Kamala Harris also lost more than 300,000 migrant children that she allowed to be trafficked into our country. These children are gone. Many of them are dead. And nobody does anything about it. 300,000 children are missing. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine if that were a Trump administration, be the biggest story in history? Nobody even talks about it, just like they don't talk about the fact that Joe Biden got $27 million from different countries. And they don't talk about that, him and his family. Just came out from Congress. Nobody talks about it. I do have some good news, though, for the people standing behind me in particular, and maybe for some of the press that wants to hear good things. The Supreme Court just ruled that you're not allowed to have illegal aliens vote. Just came out just before I walked up. So illegal aliens are officially not allowed to vote in our country. And I give great credit to the Supreme Court. They have great courage in doing what they're doing. It's not easy, but that was one that everybody was hoping for. You know, a vast majority of people agree with that. It's a very small amount of people that don't. Who would want that? So thank you very much. And she's really provided Harris deportation immunity to the vast majority of criminal aliens living inside the United States. They've got immunity. They really have immunity. And importing MS-13 directly into our cities. MS-13 is the most vicious gang we feel. If I ask the sheriffs behind me, I think probably considered the most vicious gangs in the world. Wouldn't you say, Brandon? It's there's never seen anything like it. It's not even believable. I won't tell you about it. It's not even believable. As the DA of San Francisco, Kamala Harris was the godmother of deadly sanctuary cities. She was considered the godmother. All they're doing is protecting criminals, which set loose illegal alien criminals rather than hand them over to ICE, who are doing an incredible job. Under a program Kamala set up, an illegal alien arrested on drug charges in 2008 was set free to enjoy job training. A short time later, that same illegal alien attacked a 29-year-old beautiful young woman, Amanda Kiefer, stealing her purse and fracturing Amanda's skull. It was vicious and horrible, and Amanda's here with us, and I'd love to have Amanda come up and say a few words. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Amanda Kiefer. I don't feel like I belong on the stage with the folks here, since I seem to have gotten off kind of easy with just a fractured skull. I didn't lose loved ones, but the night I was walking to dinner in Pacific Heights, it was a nice neighborhood. You wouldn't expect broad daylight for something violent to happen to you on the way to dinner. My purse was stolen, and I stepped into the street, and the car he jumped into came at me. I jumped up on the hood to avoid getting run over, and he floored it and hit the brakes. The police were great. They had caught him and his accomplice in a really short time, because I remember being on a gurney in the hallway of the hospital, and I had to ID them. They were laughing as they fractured my skull. What was really the worst part about it all, though, is when I found out that taxpayer money was paying for job training for this guy who avoided going to prison for the first felony he committed for jobs he couldn't legally hold. It was kind of a wake-up moment for me, and I moved out of San Francisco because I didn't feel safe there. And I don't think our country is going to be safe under Kamala Harris.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you very much. Story after story. Kamala has called for the abolishing of ICE, the closing of every ICE detention facility, and the releasing of some of the most vicious criminals anywhere in the world by doing so. She supports free health care for illegal immigrants and has promised to give illegals mass amnesty and citizenship, which will obliterate Social Security. Oh, Social Security is going to be obliterated by all of these millions of people that she wants to put on, and also Medicare will be obliterated. I'm going to save Social Security. I'm not going to touch it. We're going to make our country strong, but they're going to obliterate it. She also feels extremely strongly about defund the police. She wants to defund the police. And anytime somebody wants to defund the police, you're never going to get them back to being normal. The police have to be taken care of. They're the best thing we have going to protect us. They know exactly what's going on. When we do deportation, they know every person out there, and they know the middle name, and they know everything about them, and they know all of the bad ones. They know the really bad ones. That'd be a great help. We have to get the criminals out of our country immediately. Kamala is always going to have open borders. If Comrade Harris has the chance, she will allow more than 100 million illegal aliens into our country. Our country will be overrun, and essentially it won't be a country. It will be not governable. With us today are leaders of the National Border Patrol. You've known them, you've met them. I don't have to go over, but I want to just thank them for the incredible job they've done. I've worked so well with them. Paul Perez has been unbelievable. Past President Brandon Judd, unbelievable. Sheriff Mark Daniels, who's been incredible. I watched him on television today. He did a great job of explaining this crazy situation that we're in. Sheriff Chris Heiser. So I want to just say you're here, and Paul and Brandon, Mark, and everybody, I want to thank you so much. It's incredible the job you do. Such a dangerous job. I actually did. I came in, I met one of the Border Patrol who was badly wounded. I said, "Are you okay?" It was a while ago. He said, "Yes." I said, "What happened?" "Well, my leg is broken, my arm was broken, my back was broken, my neck was broken, my skull was fractured." He went through a list of things. I said, "That's unbelievable." When we win this November, we will end the Kamala Harris border nightmare once and for all. We'll get it back very strong. We will also end the inflation, a bad economy, and we will be respected very shortly all over the world again as we were by other countries. The choice is simple: Kamala's mass amnesty of criminals or President Trump's mass deportation of criminals. I think that's pretty easy. In addition to all of the other things, there are many other things that are equally as bad but not as obvious. With your vote, we will seal the border, stop the invasion, and launch the largest deportation effort in American history. We will impose tough new sentences on illegal alien criminals. These include 10-year mandatory minimum sentence for anyone guilty of human smuggling, a guaranteed life sentence for anyone guilty of child trafficking, and a death penalty for anyone guilty of child or woman sex trafficking. We'll also impose the death penalty on major drug dealers and traffickers. In other countries, on their immigration papers, there is a statement that says, "Death for drug traffickers." Big letters, big bold letters, 10 times the size of everything else on the page. I saw it this morning. And those are the countries where they have no problem with drugs. Many of them, actually. We will also impose the death penalty for anyone killing our police, sheriffs, Border Patrol, ICE, or law enforcement officials. The death penalty with a quicker trial, not a trial that lasts for 15 years and everybody gets exhausted. We will liberate our country from the illegal alien drug dealers, robbers, murderers, gang members, and child predators. And we will make America safe again for our citizens and make it greater, stronger, better, more beautiful than ever before. And I want to thank you all, and especially our 4 very special people. 4 very special people. And sheriffs and law enforcement, I want to thank you so much, because this job is so dangerous. It's not even believable. You pull over a car, they open the door, and they start shooting you. That happened in Long Island with a great young man with an incredible family. I went there. Same thing. So we have to stop it. We have to bring our country back. We have to use common sense. You don't have to be conservative or liberal or progressive, as they like to say now. They don't like the term liberal. Republican, Democrat, it doesn't matter. We have to have strong protection in our country, or our country's going to wither away and die. We need a military. We need our great police to be loved and respected, and they will be again. Right now, if somebody does something that's a little bit on the tough side to stop something that's very bad, they end up losing their pension, their life, their car, their house. They lose their job. They lose everything. We're going to give immunity to many, many people so that they can do the law. But again, I want to thank you. I want to thank the media for being here. I hope you can report this story the way it is. It's a very sad moment for our country. We have some very bad people trying to get into office, and if we don't stop them, our country has no chance of greatness. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah. We'll work with locals, and they're going to bring them to us, and we'll get them over the border, and we'll make arrangements with the countries, and the countries will accept them back. And if they don't accept them back, we do no trade with those countries, and we charge them big tariffs. I haven't, but I'm hearing reports. I have a lot of respect for RFK Jr. You know that. I've known him a long time. Very smart, a little bit different, and that's okay. But he's a very smart guy. He's loved by a lot of people, and I'm hearing that he wants to leave. Don't forget, he was treated very unfairly. I think he would have beaten Biden in a primary, the Kennedy name and him in particular. I think he would have beaten Biden in a primary, and they made it impossible. They said you have to get 70% of the vote just to qualify or something. They created standards that nobody could have met. Biden couldn't have met them. And I think he would have lost Biden, and they really treated him very badly. Then he went out as an independent, and it's a tough thing to do, independent. You know, it wasn't set up that way, the country. It's really a two-party system, whether people like it or not, Republican, Democrat. And I have spoken to him in the past over the last number of months, but not recently. But there are rumors that he's going to make an endorsement. That would be a great honor for me, great honor. I don't know. I don't know. I can't say that. But I know we're in the same state, so we're not very far away. But I can't tell you that yet. No plans have been made at this moment. Brian? What was going through my mind is that, and I almost hate to say it in front of them, I don't know how they take it. I don't know how they can take it. You understand that? I think probably most of the people standing. No. How do you take it? How do you do it? It's, it's like devastating when you see what happened. And these are incredible people. These people are incredible people. I got to know them. They're unbelievable. And they loved, like, as much as you can love someone. I spent time with all of them. And what goes through my mind is I don't know how the hell they take it, to be honest. Yes. A lot. Always has. Sure. Ready? The bipartisan, and it wasn't bipartisan, they had a couple of people on the other side. It was weak, it was ineffective, and it would have allowed, as you know, millions and millions of people to pour through, and largely unvetted. It was a horrible bill. It was a weak bill, and they don't need a bill. All Biden had to do is look to the border and say, close the border. He didn't need a bill. He knows that. They didn't want a bill. The bill was terrible. If it was good, I would have approved it. The House passed a bill before that, I'd approve that bill right now. That was a real bill. But this bill was a weak bill, and it was a shame that they got a Republican. They got somebody who's a very good person, by the way, but they got him to lead it. But it didn't make any difference. If they wanted to close the border, which they don't. They'll have 100 million people come in and totally destroy, ruin our country. If they wanted to close the border, I didn't have a bill. I said, close the border. I said, Brandon, close that border, Brandon. And what happened? He closed the border. They all did. Paul, the whole group of them. This group is incredible. They closed the border. I looked at him. I said, we don't have a bill. We don't need a bill. Close the damn border. They closed the border. They could do the same thing. No. Right now, what's happening is people are waiting to see what's going to go with the election. And wait till you see what happens after the election, one way or the other. But right now, you take a look at the numbers for the last year. They're horrendous, absolutely horrendous. And it's also election time, don't forget. They want to put on a little bit of a squeeze. All they do and all they want to do and all they have to do is say, Biden, although I'm not sure, you take a look at, nobody even knows where he is. He's on a beach someplace, but he could even do it from the beach. Close the border. And the border is closed. They will close the border immediately. That's what I did. But we had great people. We've lost a lot of those great people because they want to be respected, and they weren't respected because of this administration. And the worst person in, far worse than Biden, was Kamala. That's why I call her comrade, because she's a radical left person who really wants to have an open border. She'll never close the border. She'll never drill for oil and gas. She's not going to do it. She might do it for a couple of months. She stopped, and that's where the inflation came in. Then she went back to the Trump policy. What they don't say is that if I were there, I'd be now 4 times higher than I was at that moment. But the gasoline prices are still very high right now. But they would have been double if they didn't go back to the Trump policy of drilling. But we would have been close to 4 times higher. We would have been energy dominant. We were energy independent. They would have been energy dominant. But if I want the border closed, if I'm the president, I don't need a bill. I just have to say close the border, and they close the border.
To the White House, are you confident that you can reach a consensus with Democrats and how to close the border?
Well, I think right now you look at it, and I'm one that believes that we want to unify our country. But when you have an issue like this where some people, and I don't happen to believe it's the Democrats. I think it's Democrat leaders that want the open borders. I think it's Democrat leaders that say, we don't want voter ID. We talk about elections. I always start, okay, we start with voter ID. We don't want voter ID. He said, no, everything has ID, identification. They said, we don't want any identification. We don't want it. Now, there's only one reason. So we can't even negotiate after that because they don't want voter ID. So I say to them, why don't you want? Well, we just don't want it. We think it's discriminatory. They have all sorts of excuses. They don't want it because they want to be able to cheat. And we want voter ID. And we want same-day voting. And we want paper ballots. And we want proof of citizenship. Very simple. France did it. France went to 38 million votes, and they did it because they had mail-in ballots, and they were very unsafe, very bad. They had tremendous problems, and they went 2 years ago with an election, and it worked out incredibly. 10 o'clock in the evening, they had 37 million votes. They were all counted, and there were no problems. That's where our country should go. But the Democrats don't want to go there because it doesn't allow them to cheat. Okay, how about one more?
According to the Daily Mail, today there was a manhunt going on in this county. Somebody made death threats to you. Did you hear about that before coming?
No.
And what are your thoughts coming down here? Some people told me it's dangerous for you to be here.
I've heard it's dangerous, but I also have a job to do. I've heard it's very dangerous. I haven't heard about that. They probably want to keep it from me. Thank you for telling me. Let's get out of here right now. No, thank you very much for saying. But no, and I have great respect for Secret Service, the job they do, including a month and a half ago when they were jumping on top of me with bullets flying right at them. So mistakes were made, and they're going to learn from the mistakes. But I have great respect. But no, I haven't heard that, but I'm not that surprised. And the reason is because I want to do things that are very bad for the bad guys. So I have heard it's very unsafe to make this trip. There were some people that really didn't want me to make it. Yeah, please.
Families and children under your
Yeah, we'll work on that. You know, they're missing so many children right now under this administration, over 300,000. Many of them are dead. You know that. Many of them are dead. Many of the hostages in Israel are dead. This is why Hamas isn't talking. You know, Hamas doesn't want to negotiate very much because I think they probably don't have very many alive right now. And so they don't want to really get into too much of a negotiation because I think many of those hostages, unfortunately, are dead. But the 300,000 children that are missing, many of them are dead. And many of them are in sex rings and all sorts of things going on. It's a terrible thing. They have done such a bad job in this government in terms of everything, foreign relations, border, crime, jobs. And today you found out that the job numbers are fake on top of everything else. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you. Yes.
But when it comes to something like mass deportation, how does it work with blue states and blue cities that might not be as supportive as some of the folks here?
Let me tell you, they're much more supportive than you think. I've watched New York, Eric Adams. I've watched the body language. A lot of people that are in charge of that, they want to straighten it out. They can't live like this. New York has hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrants in their midst. Many of them are very, very hardened criminals. And I've watched the mayors, I've watched governors talking, and it's almost like they're talking because they're demanded from Washington now. They want it out much more than people would understand. They want them out. They don't want to see their cities overrun. New York is overrun, Chicago's overrun. They're all, and you would be surprised. And the people, including Democrats want to have a secure border. Democrats want to have a secure vote. It's the leadership that doesn't. So I think that'll be a very easy situation to solve. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
All right, so President Trump wrapping up a very strong speech here on the border, you know, giving stories and letting the families tell their stories of loved ones that have been lost due to this border crisis and illegal immigrants that have just flooded, and the zero accountability coming out of the Biden-Harris administration. Truly heartbreaking to hear this as a parent, as a father. Unimaginable, just horror brought to these families due to very soft immigration policies. But President Trump, very strong, very resolute, definitely knows what he wants when it comes to this border. This border was as secure as it's ever been in a very long time, as you heard. Also, President Trump was not made aware of the threats on his life, but everything was good here in Cochise County, Arizona, here at the southern border. President Trump getting ready to depart on to the next venue here. Guys. Okay, thank you. We're sorry we're live here, and obviously media is just crowding the riser and jumping here in front of everything. But again, very strong speech here, you know, talking about also the job numbers that came in, the fake job numbers that have come in. You know, both sides very, very upset. 818,000 jobs, you know, falsely reported over the past several months. Truly, again, just the lies continue to stream in from the left, and we see more and more of the DNC. Was hoping to get a question into President Trump, the star of the Democratic National Convention, if you will, since they don't have any policies to talk about and nothing of substance. President Trump has become the one and only conversation topic here of the DNC. As you see President Trump here, as he's departing, taking some pictures with some local folks here, local ranchers, residents, law enforcement, things like that. We're bringing in some more of the locals here that have been affected, so severely affected here in Cochise County, recounting some of those stories. the urgency to close this border, President Trump, very, very strong. We're talking about it just, from coast to coast. This border has become the number one issue of many Americans. And as we were saying before, so many different states that are not border states, not necessarily feeling the pain, but at times, importing many of these illegal people there. So suddenly they're starting to see an increase in vagrancy or immigration or whatever it may be when it comes to people coming into their cities. But again, not necessarily directly affected by this border crisis. And Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, where we are, we're starting to see just more and more horror stories coming in. The Democrats constantly repeating lately that numbers are down at the border, but it's certainly not what we're hearing from the locals here in Cochise County and beyond. As we see President Trump's motorcade here starting to pull out, getting a bit closer. We thank you guys for joining us here on RSBN. Wanted to thank some of our sponsors. Wellness Company, America, listen up. The world is getting more unpredictable, as you heard from President Trump, by the day. We've got assassination attempts, rumors of civil war, an unstable stock market, and now the looming threat of bird flu is on everyone's mind. Did you know that WHO has announced there's a bird flu summit coming in October? It's eerily reminiscent of the event 201 that foreshadowed the plandemic. And get this, the first topic on the agenda is mass fatality management planning. If that doesn't send chills down your spine, I don't know what will. But here's the good news. You don't have to be scared if you're prepared. The Wellness Company created the Contagion Emergency Kit that you saw earlier with Matthew there in studio. And every home in America should have at least one of these. They're packed with life-saving medications like ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, antibiotics, and Z-Paks. And all backed by experts like Dr. Peter McCullough. Imagine this. No more frantic searches for a doctor. No more emergency rooms. Just a few clicks, no waiting, and this kit is delivered directly to your door. In times like this, having your Contagion Emergency Kit is not just a luxury, it's a necessity. Protect yourself and your family by preparing now. Visit twc.health/RSBN and use code RSBN to save you $45 at checkout. Kits are only available in the USA. Also like to thank Tennessee Land. The state of Tennessee is one of the most popular places in the country to live, retire, and invest. Okay? All right. Let me redirect here. Let me tell you about the free Trump book. The guide has been updated for 2024 and explains Trump's vision of the future of America to kids, including his policies on immigration. It's not surprising to learn that crime and drugs are getting worse and America is under siege by illegal immigrants, pouring in from the southern border. Well, here we are. Thanks to Biden's immigration policies that are overwhelming our cities and endangering Americans. Just look at what happened. The stories that you heard today and the children, the families that have been affected. An illegal immigrant from Venezuela, just Laken Riley is the one that we've heard about so much. As a result, more and more Americans are agreeing with President Trump's policies on immigration. As future voters, our kids need to understand the ramifications of those immigration policies and more. The Kid's Guide to President Trump helps them understand this, along with his vision for America following his re-election. Go to freetrumpbook.com. Again, that's freetrumpbook.com and educate your children. Our friends at Birch Gold, in these crazy times, there's peace of mind in security. Security is our country. Security for our country, Security for our leaders and security for our families. It's obviously most important. But think about this. If you have your eggs in one basket, you are not financially secure. Gold and silver are an excellent way to diversify your savings. They're a hedge against inflation. And through our friends at Birch Gold Group, you can now own physical gold and silver in a tax-sheltered retirement account. This is one thing you can do today to help secure your family's savings. Text the word Trump to 989898 and receive your free information kit on gold. Plus, in August only, we've told you this before, on any purchase you make, Birch Gold is giving away a free Trump coin, a free Trump silver coin. This brand new one-of-a-kind silver coin features Trump boldly raising his fist after the attempt on his life in Butler, Pennsylvania. You don't want to miss your chance to own this special piece of history, a celebration of a leader dedicated to our security, our borders preserved in this precious metal coin. So secure your savings today and get your free Trump silver coins. Text Trump to 989898 today. That's Trump to 989898. And of course, our friend Mike Lindell at MyPillow. Is your son or daughter heading off to college soon? I know a lot of people are right now, literally. I'm going to have to do it sooner or later, and it scares the hell out of me. But you're in luck, because MyPillow is bringing back the $25 extravaganza. Mike Lindell and his dedicated employees have been part of the cancel culture, so they want to pass savings directly on to you. 2-pack multi-use MyPillows, just $25. MyPillow sandals, $25. Beach towels, $25. Their 6-pack towel set, $25. Couch and recliner pillows, you guessed it, $25. Another amazing offer is on My Mattress Topper for the college dorm beds. You know those beds aren't comfortable. The Twin XL Topper fits most college dorm beds and will help your kids get a great night's sleep. My Pillow Topper comes in every bed size, and you can put it right over your current mattress. Believe me, you will feel the difference. It provides the best comfort and support. For a limited time, you can get one for as low as $69.99. These amazing offers won't last long, so order now. Just go to mypillow.com/RSBN. Again, that's mypillow.com/RSBN. All right. Last, but certainly not least, I want to tell you about us here at RSBN. We are your 2024 election headquarters. Obviously, we've got the best line on Trump and what he's doing here on the ground and every single one of his events. We're working hard to provide you the best wall-to-wall coverage that we can of President Donald J. Trump's campaign and J.D. Vance as well. Don't miss a thing. Make sure to like and share this broadcast, and while you're at it, subscribe to our channel and get alerts when we are live. Follow us on all social media platforms at RSB Network. Again, that's everywhere. That's X, it's Rumble. Everywhere you can be, we are RSB Network. For upgrades sent directly to your inbox, sign up for our newsletter, rsbnetwork.com/newsletter. And lastly, if you like our content and want to give us a bonus, a donation, please consider donating to rsbnetwork.com/donate. It means the world to us, to everyone here. Will, our camera guy, all of our camera guys that are working so hard behind the scenes. This allows us to do everything that we can to bring this kind of coverage to you all over the country. We'll always provide you the best coverage of President Trump and his campaign, and you won't get that anywhere else. We appreciate even the smallest amount. Text RSBN to 801-801. Again, that's 801-801. Text RSBN to 801-801. Thanks for supporting us. We appreciate it. Thank you for joining us here in Cochise County, Arizona. And we will see you tomorrow from Glendale, Arizona. And we are expecting President Trump to speak at 12 p.m. Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern time from Las Vegas. We'll cover that. We will also be covering live here in Glendale, Arizona. So thanks again for following us here at RSBN. We hope you had a great time, and we will see you again tomorrow. My name is Mike Fortin. You can catch me on Instagram at Mike4TIN. You can catch me also on Twitter or X at Mike FORTIN. Hope to see you again tomorrow. We'll see you next time.
You ask and we listen. We're finally bringing the most requested offer ever. Get the queen size premium MyPillow, not only $19.98. MyPillow is made with patented adjustable fill. It adjusts to your exact individual needs regardless of your sleep position. It helps keep your neck aligned and holds its shape all night long so you get the best sleep of your life. But that's not all. Get our 6-piece kitchen or bath towel sets, only $25. Our brand new mattress topper as low as $69.98. Get our famous MyPillow bed sheets for as low as $25 and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get huge discounts on all MyPillow products, including the premium queen size MyPillow, only $19.98. That's the lowest price ever. Don't delay, order today. From all of us here at MyPillow, thanks America!
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk. Don't forget to catch the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show right here on RSBN. That's right, RSBN. Now that's Right Side Broadcasting Network. Okay? See y'all soon. Bye-bye.
Welcome to the Right Side Broadcasting Network. We're not like the other media outlets out there that cut and edit what other people say. In 2015, we were created by our founder, Joe Seals, to cover President Donald J. Trump's speeches and rallies, to which we continue to do to this day. We've also covered important conservative events like CPAC, tvOS, March for Life, and many other important events and hearings around the country. We were made for people like you, everyday Americans who are tired of the mainstream media, who are tired of being lied to, manipulated, and fed an agenda. Our goal here at Right Side Broadcasting is to allow you to see the truth, giving our correspondents and commentators a wide latitude to speak their minds. You won't find anything like this in the mainstream media. Your support through your donations, locals, and supporting our advertisers allows us to continue to cover important events around the country each and every day. So, from us here at Right Side Broadcasting, thank you for supporting us and the right side of history.